Hello. Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to be chatting with Lorthorn. Excellent little YouTuber. Got about 2.5 thousand subs on YouTube. Talks a whole lot about magic in Minecraft. He talks a lot about Minecraft. Plays some Battle Brothers and so on. Honestly, pretty neat dude. Okay.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Good.
All right.
I
So,
don't know how it's really going to work, but I'll roll with it.
what was that?
I don't know how this is going to work, but I'll roll with it.
Well, like I said, it's sort of just a casual chat with another person who's enthusiastic about video games and magic and video games and so on. Let me see.
It's all good. Oh, this is trippy. I'm watching myself in delay.
All right. Well, Lorthorn, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, I am Lorthorn. I'm a YouTuber. I make videos about video games, basically. That's what I've been doing for the past little while. Um, yeah. And I am also a gardener. That's what I do for a living, is gardening, as YouTube doesn't pay all the bills. So,
Well, that's pretty dope. Yeah, you've been at this for a bit over 2 years now.
yeah, I've been at it for, let's see, it's been around 2 years, yeah, a little over 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that I've gotten as much traction as I have for doing it for 2 years.
Yeah. YouTube can be pretty rough, but it looks like, I mean,
Well, it's random. It's totally random. There is absolutely no, like, if you're good, then that will show. And so if you're good enough, then you'll be good enough, and that will get you some views. But that's only one part. It's like, not even 50. Like, yeah, no, 50% of it is how good you are. And then you have to be lucky, is the other large percent.
Yeah, you've got to be good at what you're doing. You've got to be driven, and then you have to get luck. There is
Yeah.
a small element of luck in picking up
I think-
traction.
I think it's pretty major, actually. Like examples, I don't know the guys off the top of my head, but there's like this one guy's been doing YouTube for something like 6 years, and then he released one video that basically blew out everything he'd done over all of his career on YouTube. And then all of his other videos started getting viewed, and it's like suddenly he like gained 6,000 subscribers in a night because people recognize, oh, this guy's good. And then once people see he's good, then more people get recommended him and they can see he's good. And there's this other guy who does VR videos, and he just sort of like an exponential curve went up. And so it's other people like settle, some people kind of go out of line. It's all kind of random and crazy, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about YouTube. We're going to be talking about magic.
Right. I was actually just about to say it. I watched. I think it's the advertisement video you've got on your home page here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like I play video games. Well, I play Minecraft. I mostly play Minecraft.
Yeah, that's a bit of a joke because I like playing a lot of different games, and I do videos on other things. However, what gets viewed on my channel is Minecraft.
Yeah.
And there's a point where it's like I will make the videos I want to make, but there's also purpose of them partly is to get watched, so I might as well make videos that people are going to watch, right? So
yeah, exactly.
And
oh, go ahead.
So even with that, though, I will continue to make videos that aren't Minecraft, and it's sort of a thing where I'm kind of in a transitionary period right now of I want to make higher quality videos that aren't just constant Let's Plays, because I like the Let's Plays, but I also really like making the how-tos and tutorials and commentary stuff and things that are funny, but I don't know, like when you create stuff, and I suspect you probably get this with your live stream as well, you feel like you always have to have something going, and I actually technically don't have a schedule, but I keep to a schedule, but I don't have an official one. And lately, that schedule has been breaking down, partly because I'm just adjusting to the new job and various other things, because you need to adjust to a period. And also, I've ran out of steam on some Let's Plays, and it's trying to get one going at the moment is turning out to be rather difficult because, well, it's with mod Minecraft. I'm trying to get a mod pack I've made working, and those things can be a bugger when you have 100+ mods in them.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we were running into an issue with a Minecraft mod pack. So most of my mod packs are actually set up by the moderator on my Discord. Most of the mod packs that I play in Minecraft or RimWorld are set up by somebody else because I'm not very technically inclined. So
yeah,
I trust somebody else to do the setting up of the mod pack, and then I'll play through that. But I decided to set one up and just sort of pack it full of every mod I could think of.
yeah,
And exactly what we expected to happen happened. It started running into memory limitation issues and so on. But
yeah,
as far as actually making content, I found for myself, the best way to go about it was to set up a schedule. This isn't to say you set up I'm going to upload every Tuesday. This is I'm going to create a project. I'm going to outline this project, and we're going to work on it across multiple videos, and that's how it gets done. That is the only time I've been able to upload for over 2 months consistently.
yeah.
And that only
No,
happened with the RimWorld project, which was...
yeah. I can see that happening. It's also it's like, I don't know what the case is for you, but for me, especially, I had a series, two series. One was the vampirism series, and then that I was kind of done with vampirism, but I wasn't done with that mod pack, and so I made a new series, which was called Wizardry. But then I was like, I don't just want to do wizardry, so I scrapped that series really quickly and did Minecraft Magic mods.
Yeah.
And then that was like a long series, and those like two things, like people always say, "Oh, do Vampirism season 2." It's like I did season 2. It's called Minecraft Magic Mods, but those were like getting like a consistent amount of views, and they like accumulate over time. And then I tried a different series, and it did terribly compared to the last one. But a little bit afterwards, I had a retrospect, which is like, it didn't do terribly. That one series did amazing.
Right.
And this is what I should expect. Almost. I found it very amusing, just a retrospect on that. But it can be discouraging and disillusioning. All right. Enough about technical stuff of that, though. I want to talk about something interesting. So you said that my internet was no longer frozen. So that's not what happened. Okay. So, in the Yukon where I live, we have one internet provider, and it's Northwestel.
Okay.
And they are our only option. Like, you can't get internet anywhere else except through satellite companies, and that's really slow and really, really painful to work with. So all we got is Northwestel. So they have a monopoly, and they gouge us for prices. It's like some of the most expensive internet in the world, some of the worst service in the world where I live.
Okay.
So all of our internet relies on one cable that comes up from British Columbia.
Oh no.
Now, I don't know what these cables are encased on, but I feel like they should be a metal pipe. However, at least once per year, a construction crew along the road will cut straight through the cable and knock out the internet throughout the whole territory for a day. And then that also affects the Northwest Territories right next to us, and it affects northern BC. And it used to be, oh man, that sucks. I remember in high school it happened one day, you have a research project, and the teacher's like, alright, you get one more day on the research project because everything's being wiped out.
Right.
Now, it was so bad this time, 911 wasn't working. You couldn't actually phone 911 because the our communication line was completely down from that cutting. And it's basically like, we pay you exorbitant fees, and we can get our serfs wiped out for a day or longer. It's just absurd.
That is nuts. And you said
Yeah,
that
and
this
also
happens so consistently.
at least once a year. At least
Yeah.
once a year. And also, every single time the cable gets damaged, they have to patch it. And so the internet service gets slightly worse. Just a very, very small amount, but whenever you patch fiber optic cable, it gets worse.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I actually don't know how internet works at all, really. Like, it's data servers and linking them together, but beyond that, I
Right.
don't know.
It's magic past that point.
Yeah, it's magic past that point. Well, it's not magic. I wanted to talk about that. I was using this as a convenient segue.
Yeah,
Um,
we
so,
so I actually did open watching the video you did how to magic because that
yeah.
is the video that caught my attention the most.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
that's funny. That's a mirror video. It was actually uploaded onto my animation channel as well, which is way smaller.
oh,
Um,
okay.
but I mirrored it there because I thought some people might find it interesting on the gaming channel.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
before we move into that, because I feel like that's going
yeah,
to be a much sort of bigger topic.
yeah,
There's the thing from your intro video that I
yeah,
found interesting, real quick, is
yeah,
that you talk about how you kind of you do Minecraft a lot, and
yeah,
you seemed not 100% fond of like how you felt sort of more pressured to do Minecraft than other things. Have you
yeah.
noticed that in other YouTubers as well?
Oh, that definitely happens to them. That's a definite thing that happens. You find a niche that people like. Like, so basically, how I figure it is you go along
Hmm.
and then you find a niche you can fill because there's always someone wanting to watch something. Like, my channel actually started out with Short Trip to Earth. It's an indie video game.
Yep.
And like the first few videos I released of it and a different video game, like barely any views. And then one of the devs started watching Short Trip to Earth. One of the he was their community outreach for Short Trip to Earth, and he watched it. And some of his colleagues watched it because, like, hey, there's this guy watching our video. And I'm pretty certain there's this tool on Google that you can basically use to, whenever someone, like, talks about something that you're doing online, it'll show you it.
Yeah, YouTube does that, and
Yeah,
I believe Twitter and Facebook might do so as well. 'Cause
yeah. There's also a separate tool you can just set up.
yeah,
But anyways, so they started watching my video. So like devs basically were watching my videos because some guy giving basically his unfiltered opinion about their video game. They basically had a beta tester for free who was like granting about their video and going, "Oh, I don't like this feature. Oh, I really like this feature." You know, what'd be really cool is like a beam gun that uses up the special resources that you only get one of, like for every, and you can only like store 20 of them. It's like a super beam gun. They actually added that to the game, which had me thrilled. And I like to pretend in my mind that I'm solely responsible for the super beam weapon that uses rare materials.
hey, they were watching you, so
Yeah,
it could
yeah.
be true.
So I had an influence probably on. I had the
Yeah,
influence, but so there's that. And I puttered along with several other videos, and then I made the Bewitchment series, which like got a few views, and then I made How to Bewitchment because, by God, the very first rendition of the Book of Shadows, which is the instructional book for Bewitchment, was absolute garbage.
yeah,
It was so hard to understand. So many people had troubles with it, and like I was just trying to play the game, and I was like going along. It's like I don't know how this works. So I devoted like 3 days of basically researching the mod as hard as I could, like going through with it and like, all right, we're going to do this here, and we're going to do this here, and we're going to figure out all the statistics and the stats and the drop rates for flowers, which biomes you can collect them from. I went through all that research, and I turned it into a video, and that got a lot of traction. And then it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing Minecraft videos now because I'd filled a niche of doing Minecraft videos based around the mod Bewitchment.
you accidentally made one Minecraft video, and it's like, well, now this is who I am.
Yeah, well, the thing is,
Forever.
I actually made other Minecraft videos, and those didn't get traction, right?
Right.
But then going along the way, and then it's like, oh, this one got traction, and more people started watching the Minecraft videos I did. And so basically, as a YouTuber or even a content creator, you'll go along, and then you will probably, I mean, if you're consistent and you're good, and like I said, lucky, you go along and then you hit a certain point where you get a little bit of traction, and it's because people resonate with what you do. They see, oh, this person really likes, I don't know, let's take an example like spaghetti, okay? And suddenly you become the spaghetti man on YouTube, and everyone who wants spaghetti content goes to you, and you feel that niche, and your audience will continue to grow until you have basically gathered in everyone that's interested in spaghetti and interested in your opinions on spaghetti.
Right.
And also, you have to be good enough to keep them. So there's a mix of things with that. The Spiffing Brit, I don't know if you know who he is.
Yep.
So he at one point said that your audience will continue to grow until you get everyone that would watch you, and that's where it stops. So, like, it might grow slowly, it might grow quickly, but your audience will continuously grow until you get everyone that would watch you. And, I mean, that's kind of obvious in some ways, but you don't feel like it at times.
Yeah.
And the thing, like I said, I've said I'm stuck with Minecraft at the moment, but I don't plan to be. And even if the other things I make that aren't Minecraft don't do as well, it doesn't mean I won't do other things still. Like, I have plans to make game reviews reminiscent of Mandalore and Seth and Total Biscuit. I've made game reviews before, but I want to make game reviews of extremely high quality. And I was planning to set out to do those in October, but you know how plans go. Those projects still haven't got off the ground. And I have several other projects of super intensive Let's Plays that are just more than a Let's Play. They're actually a narrative story idea. I don't know how I'm going to formulate those, but I want to proceed forward with that. And even, I play Battle Brothers on my channel, and I want to put more effort into that. And ages ago, I tried to get RimWorld working with a whole bunch of magic mods. But again, I see mod, I take mod, I add it to pack, then I try to launch pack, and the pack breaks. And that is a time-consuming process of then whittling the mods back down to get it working. And I have a guy a bit similar to, you said you have a moderator, but I have a guy on my Discord who recommends mods to me, and he'll make mod packs every once in a while. Then it's like, alright, I see your mod pack, I like it. But it's only got 20 mods, so I think I can add a few more.
Oh god.
And then I end up with far too many mods, and so... Although he's bad, though, because I will have a series going, and then he'll go, you should add this mod to it. And I was like, okay, I'll add that mod to it. And I'll be going on, it's like, oh, you should add this mod to it. It's like, oh, that mod looks really cool. I'll add that mod to it.
I have to tell Jason to shut up. I have to tell Jason to stop at some point. Because I'm just like, well, okay, we need to remember my computer has limited resources, and Amber here in chat can tell you, like, I have in the past. That's how it tended to go before. Is Jason would make a decently working mod pack, and then, you know, I'd be like, well, or someone in chat would be like, well, you should add this mod, or you should add this mod, and add this mod, and then suddenly the thing doesn't work anymore, and I get frustrated, and I'm like, okay, we're just gonna narrow this shit down.
Yeah. Well, so the funny thing is, I've actually talked about this before. If I launch a mod pack on my computer, and it's like a pre-made mod pack, and it doesn't work or it's laggy, I get mad at the mod maker. It's like, you have this poorly optimized and it doesn't work. And why I get mad at them is because I have an insanely powerful computer that's very optimized to certain specific specs. And it's like, if I can't run this mod pack you've made, then 99.9% of all computer users cannot run this. Right. And you have a bad mod pack.
Yeah, I run into that a little bit with Minecraft mod packs more than RimWorld, because man, there was that like I said, there was the memory limitation issue. Now I don't have as much RAM as I should, really. I think I can't remember what it is. I have like 16 gigs or something. I can't remember if it's 8 or 16 of RAM,
Sorry.
but no, it's 16, and it's like I should have probably a little bit more because I do streaming,
Yep.
I do recording. You know, I should probably have more in there, but like, man, I don't know if most people have the 16 gigs of RAM, the i5 processor, the 2060. These are like not top of the line.
But like it's funny because you're saying that, and past me, like little kid me, right, using my dad's old work laptop would be drooling over specs like that.
Right.
Like those are good specs. Those can run things. However, like you say, it's not top of the line. Why I know that is because I have a computer set up for animation and 3D modeling, and I have 64 gigabytes of RAM.
Oh my god.
Which is excessive.
I was about to say, I don't know. I've looked into builds specifically for animation, and I don't know if is there ever a point where you use that much?
Yes, you do.
Oh my god.
It's during rendering. It basically determines the speed at which you can render, and it reduces the chances of crashing.
Yeah, I figured there'd be a bottleneck before 64.
So there is a bottleneck, and it's the motherboard is what bottlenecks your computer.
Right. And I'm assuming you've got something that can.
Well, so when I was building my computer, I had two options of motherboards, and it's like, okay, it's a lot more expensive than the other one. What's the difference? And the difference is, so the one I have can run 128 gigabytes of RAM. And that's where it caps out. And then the more expensive one could run 250 something gigabytes of RAM. I was like, okay, I'm going with the cheaper one.
Yep. Amber says she's had a friend who was talking about trying to get a terabyte of RAM. There's no reason to ever have that much RAM.
If
terabyte?
If you're using like NASA star technology,
right?
Like if you're setting up a supercomputer to calculate imaging in outer space with a telescope, maybe.
If you're trying to render the entire surface of the Earth in real time, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you need like a motherboard that doesn't exist and processing cores that don't exist. Although there's people who have like multiple processors, all that crazy stuff.
Man.
And like, I remember I was going to get taught by this guy until the apocalypse happened. I was going to go and train with him. He's going to teach me some anime stuff, and he's like, I'm building a new computer right now, so he'd be using my old one. And his old one had like two i9s in it. For graphics cards, it had two.
Oh my god.
And it was like, wow, your computers are insane.
Yeah.
And he is a professional 3D animator.
Oh, okay. So you definitely end up needing the extra processor and all that.
Yeah, well, I can even tell, like, when I, here, I'm going to grab an image from my desktop, and just throw it into our chat if I can.
Yeah. You can either throw it into Twitch chat or so if you throw it into...
I'll upload it here. There you go.
I was about to say.
Okay, so this here is a 3D model I created
Give me
that I just sent you.
Yep. What I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to just steal the image and... Actually, wait, can I just copy the link into a browser capture?
I don't think it's via browser that I sent you. You can download it by right-clicking and then copy image.
Well, Jesus, I'm dumb. I accidentally named it. I accidentally named it as the URL.
There it is. Yeah, so that there is a 3D rendered image I made. Now, if you notice oh man, I'm going to sound super pretentious. If you look at the shadows with this, you're going to notice that they're fuzzy and don't look right.
Okay. I wouldn't, but yep.
Yeah, and if you look at the water, this is also capturing image, but if you look at the glass, you can actually like see those little white fuzzy dots in it. Like there's sort of some particles in there.
Okay.
So this image here, I set to render. I'm not going to get super technical, but basically, I set to render it at a medium-high amount of spec, right?
Right.
And to get it to that quality, it took me about an hour to render that image. In that, with those shadows and getting to look like in the water being that transparent.
Oh my god.
And it's just your computer running calculations over and over and over again. And so I think I ran it for 512 cycles.
Okay.
And so the quality that most people would want is around 2000. And so if that was to be an animation, you would want to have thousands of those images all run at 2000, and it took me around an hour to get that at 500.
Jesus.
So I remember when I was at my university, when I was doing some stuff. I quit that university because it's awful, but that's a different story. Anyways, when I was at the university, the computer lab during our reading break, I went into the computer lab, and this girl in like a 4th-year animation course had taken over every single computer in the computer lab and turned them into one supercomputer that was rendering her animation project, which was like her thesis project. And it was like, I went there in the morning and she was there. I came back in the afternoon and she was there. I came back like 12 o'clock in the evening because I had to do something. She was there. I came back there the next day. She was there. And it's like she spent like being there the whole night, and through the next day she spent like 48 hours in that lab basically going to eat food and bathroom breaks. And she'd like taken over basically every single computer but 4, and one of those computers I was using. And it's like, that's insane.
That's hilarious. Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
So, that's what you'd use a terabyte of RAM for, I guess, maybe.
I guess. Like, oh my god. Here, we'll get into that. So like, you seem like you've got all of this sort of technical know-how when it comes to computers, and yeah, I was actually about to walk us back to the conversation about the how-to magic video, because it sounds like your experience with computers and so on might have influenced your perspective on magic, and it's sort of in an inverse way to what one might expect somebody with technical know-how to do.
Yeah, well, so there's a experiment you can do in physics. It's a really cool thing. So if you get a large copper pipe, right? And you take a magnet and you drop the magnet down the pipe, the magnet is going to fall slower than normal. It's not going to fall at the rate that you expect with gravity. It's going to take a while, and then it's going to hit the ground. And there's different ways to observe it. You can like get a cutout in the tube so you can see it fall down. One of the fun things you can do is you can like get 2 copper pipes. Then you can drop the magnet, and then you can like do this. And if it's a strong enough magnet and they're good enough pipes, then you can basically like keep catching the magnet before it falls, and you can actually like see it go slow, and it's really cool.
Okay.
And that's like, oh, like a lot of people say magnets are magic. And there's a ton of insane things you can do with magnets. I had a bunch of magnet kits. Like you can set things up to hover. You can attract objects without touching them. It's this insane thing that's like, whoa, that's magic. But I think that I might have expressed this in the How to Magic video, that it really isn't magic. And I've talked about this with my brother before, that that's an expected result that will happen every single time.
Right.
And there's rules to how that works. There's rules to magic as well, in a lot of cases, which might be a problem actually. But so with the magnet, there's these rules that if I drop this magnet through this copper pipe, it's going to freaking defy gravity, but it's going to do that every single time. And if I attract something with a magnet, it's going to do that every single time. It's going to attract in that nature. If I light a fire, then the thing's going to burn if it's a burnable material. Like fire's pretty magical in my opinion. That's probably why it's so often used is when you like fireball, and then it's like, oh, that's a fun effect. I like the fireball because it's
Right.
fire. Um, and I think the problem though with, like I said, magnets and even light fires is these are expected results, and I almost think with magic, um, you can't have precise rules, or you can have even precise rules, but magic itself can't be precise. Like I kind of expressed that with in that video, the spell Gate, which some people consider to be the most OP spell in D&D because you can like open up a portal to a different dimension and like flood the area with negative energy, or you can have a wall of water rush out, or you can suck someone into space. But it's like, no, the spell Gate is it creates this wall of magic that leads you from one spot to another. Um, but even D&D is a great example, especially earlier editions of D&D, second edition, where you would roll a dice, and it wasn't that your like firebolt missed the target. It was your wizard miscast a spell. They like try to cast a spell and it fizzles and it, like makes a sad little fart noise, and they're like, oh no, it's just a puff of smoke at the goblin instead of their magic missile. And it's because the magic didn't work in that instance, and you don't get that consistent like every time I wave my hand, I'm going to have lightning shoot from my fingertips, and I can expect that every single time. That makes a kind of boring wizard. Like every once in a while, you want that wizard to wave his hands, and instead of like lightning bolts to come out, it's going to be like some confetti or something.
Right. I was actually when I was looking at the video. Actually, I was watching the video and I noticed that a lot of your points actually were points echoed by Sanderson himself.
Yeah,
Because it's definitely like it's there's always a sort of limitation to magic,
hmm
specifically when Sanderson talks about soft magic systems. He talks about how like you shouldn't exactly, as the reader, be able to know how it works. Now
yeah.
as the writer, you probably shouldn't lean on it as hard as you would a
Yeah.
harder magic system.
Well, so I don't know if this is a good idea for writing. My brother's an author. He writes books.
Okay.
He's self-published one book. Anyways, we were talking about this, and it's like whenever you have a wizard cast a spell, you should roll a dice, and if he rolls a one, the spell fails, and then you have to figure out how to solve that in your narrative,
Man.
and that could really mess up your story. But like because what Sanderson does a lot of the times is alternative science, and it's magical alternative science. But when you really break it down, it's like, okay, so if I eat iron, then I get to push off other metals. If I eat, I think it's tin, then my sense of smell, my sight, my hearing all get increased. In Stormlight Archives, it's okay, so I suck into Stormlight, and then I have three abilities I can do, and so it lets me like lash things so I can defy gravity. It lets me bind things together, and I get to heal super fast, or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
In
this
his
is the
Rhythmatist
this
series, it's I draw symbols with chalk, and actually the Rhythmatist is one of the best ones that's closest to magic, I think. But I draw symbols with chalk, and I get results out of it, and it's based on mathematics.
Yeah, this is the allomancy sort of thing from Brandon Sanderson's like
Yeah.
Mistborn series. Yeah, I don't read a whole lot of books.
Mhm.
I'm a fan of video games, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the particular reason I actually was drawn to you, because you had these criticisms of magic from fantasy and books
Yeah.
and so on.
Yeah. So,
That oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I want you to complete.
Oh, that I think would be interesting to apply in video games. I think that video games have kind of failed to create magic, really.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how possible is actually for a video game to have magic the way you and I might view magic. So, I had this thought, right? So we're going to come up with a sort of hypothetical thing, which I think is the best way to express what magic should be, almost. So, let's say we have a potion, okay?
Okay.
So I'm getting a phone call. Sorry, it's from my boss.
Oh, yep, you're good.
So I'll just take a brief phone call here.
Yep.
Uh,
All right, we're gonna just click that off so that we're not eavesdropping or anything on the call. But yeah, I oh, give me a sec. I don't want to interrupt either. Yeah, so I mean, so far, this is exactly the conversation I was hoping to have with Lorthorn. Though, talking a lot more about YouTube and computer stuff than originally expected. I find his perspective on stuff pretty interesting. So hopefully he's able to stick around. Also, having the damn coca in the background there. It was just the first image. These things are so goddamn cute. Oh.
oh, yes, I'm back.
Welcome back. All right.
Yeah. Boss was worried that soil was getting stolen.
Oh, shit.
It is just me, though. I was doing things apparently against what they usually do, so it's all good.
Ah, that makes sense. Just,
Yeah. Right, so back to this hypothetical.
Okay.
So we have a potion, right? And we can make this potion as many times as we want. And it'll always be the potion of enchantment. Let's just give it that as a name. So we can make this thing, and we give it to someone to drink. And when they drink it, one of three things will happen. So if like you get super strong, you get super fast, or your hair changes color to pink, let's just say. So those are the three results that happen from drinking this potion.
Okay.
So you go along and you give this potion. Basically, you make thousands of it. And you give it along and you have people drink it to gather data points, because you've noticed that it's like this potion more often turns people's hair pink than it makes them strong or fast. So you gather your data points, and you're going along, and so let's say like 50% of the time makes their hair pink, and then 25% of the time makes them strong, and 25% of the time it makes them fast. So this is how you go about doing science. And so this potion now is definitively has these results. This is what it does. The potion is no longer magical. Maybe how it does is magical, but the potion itself is no longer magical because it's defined quality. We know the percentiles. This is just how it works. We don't know how to determine it, but we've basically gotten rid of some of the mystery of this thing. Now, however, so let's say they complete like 1,000 tests like this. And you want to, in a field like this, double check your data. So you do another 1,000 tests. And the results come back that 33% of the time makes people's hair pink, 33% of the time makes them stronger, 33% of the time makes them faster, and 1% of the time makes them giants. And that's not consistent to your data before. And so your testing beforehand could be wrong, and so you have to complete another 1,000 checks. And the data is vastly different this time as well. And basically, what I'm getting at is this potion actually doesn't have a consistent statistic. If you were to test it millions of times, the data, you would find a pattern in the data to that point, but if you were to continue testing it, then the data would change. It it is an untrackable data point because it's magic. It's chaos incarnate. It's got its own sort of will to how it's going to work, and it doesn't fall into patterns. Because once something falls into a pattern, then it can be explained. And I think for me, anyways, the root word of magic is mystery.
Yeah.
And when you remove mystery, it is no longer magic. And Sanderson kind of shoots himself in the foot sometimes. I mean, he really enjoys it, and a lot of people really enjoy it, but he explains how his magic works. And then you're like, oh, okay, so this isn't magic anymore. It's different science. And so what I want, like I said, with this random potion thing, is stupidly hard to do in any sense. Basically, you have to throw out 25% of rules and just, I don't know, invite a little chaos in.
So, it's an interesting point that magic should constantly have mystery to it.
Yeah.
You said that the root word of magic is mystery. The word arcane, I believe, literally does mean mystery.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I can see that definitely.
When I learned that, that was like one of those things. I play a tabletop role-playing game called Mage the Awakening, and it was when I was playing that I learned that particular bit of trivia, and I found it particularly interesting because, it really does illuminate what magic ought be. Now, I think uncertainty isn't always the best way to go about it for magic.
Yeah.
There should always be some air of like, is it going to succeed? How does it work? Why did it do it? Why did it do that exact thing that time but never before? And so instead of having uncertainty in the way you were describing it, I think actually Bewitchment, the Minecraft mod, does it pretty well. It seems to, the things are constant and consistent, but then you involve demons. And when you involve the demons, your magic is now different, right? You can start trading with them and creating a new kind of magic. And then you get tag locks, which I know are, again, a consistent thing. But the tag lock and the waystone allow you to, once again, greatly alter how it works. And it creates this feel world round in the entire Minecraft world of like paranoia, and I may not be using magic, but magic can happen to me at any point.
Yeah, the magic comes from, like, the witch knows exactly what they're doing, but the magic more comes from someone else might bewitch you, and they're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And also, adding the randomness to the demons for trading is actually a good idea. It's funny, though, because that randomness can actually frustrate people, because they like, I can never get Pandora's box, I just want to trade Pandora's box. And then when you tell people the chances of it, it almost ruins it.
Yeah.
I actually had this thought, which is, maybe you shouldn't fix all the bugs in a magic mod. Because then that adds a chance of failure and random and chaos to it. And it's like, yeah, no, that's a feature. It crashed your game. The magic was so powerful, it destroyed that reality. And you have to reload. It's like a few seconds back. And you better not do that again in that exact situation, or you'll get bad results, bucko.
One of the...
Do not combine a stick with a magic ball. It just turns out poorly.
That's honestly, that's fantastic. I love the idea of, you know what? There's a bug there, sure, but we're gonna keep it because it's magic. But also like the million variants type thing. Like, instead of having a lot of uncertainty, having a lot of options can also sort of improve the aesthetic of magic. I don't know of many video games that do it, but
I think a lot of options still, you can trace things down to its very end, and you can explore it in its entirety. And at that point, it is now a science and no longer magic. And so some mods actually might be able to manage it because mods keep updating and changing, so each time you have to go in. But at a certain point, you can get to the end of it and have everything explained.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. For me, it can be mystical. It can have a feeling of magic, but it's like it's almost not magic. So we were talking about Noita.
Yeah.
Briefly in chat, with each other. So there's this thing I'm curious if you are aware of, which is every time you launch Noita, the World Seed does a little calculation, and when you combine two different kinds, it's either 2 or 3 different kinds of liquid together, they can actually create a new kind of potion, and it's random every single time. So
yeah,
one of the potions creates Philosopher's Stone. It creates the liquid Philosopher's Stone, which is the universe's solvent. So whatever it's poured on turns into gold, and then you can collect that gold. And so that was one of the things you get. And I think the other one gives you invincibility or unlimited magic or something else pretty crazy. They're both really, really good to get. But like you launch a seed, and you might require to combine bat's piss with lava. And if you were to do that in any other game, the bat's piss would just make the lava harden to stone. But in this particular seed, it's going to turn into liquid gold solvent. Oh, that sounds gross when I'm talking about bat piss. It turns into something that can turn other substances to gold, and then you can collect it up. And so it's this really cool side feature that's can just randomly show up in the game. So I don't know if someone found this or someone did some data mining, but there's a program you can download, which is you put your world seed into that program, and then it'll tell you the exact combination that you need
oh my god,
to make that. And Noita, I think one of the really fun things I like about Noita is I expect to get results from like a wand, and I put all the spells in the wand, and I try to cast a spell, and I blow up, or
yeah,
it sucks. Like it's a really bad spell, and the most excitement come from actually coming up with a good spell. And usually, the really good spells will most likely kill you, even when you make they're very, very good. One of the best ones I found was it shot out these 2 particles that would have 2 lightning beams going between them. And so it basically annihilated anything instantly. And the nature of which it was is these 2 particles would also shred substances in front of them, so they could burn their way basically through anything.
mm-hmm.
But it fired out kind of randomly, and it could bounce, and it could go back towards you. And I had immunity to electricity, so I was pretty confident I wasn't going to die.
Oh no!
But it turns out the shredding is also explosion, and so my character got annihilated. And that's actually a very common spell, is having a trail of lightning between 2 different objects. But you need to have immunity to explosions and immunity to lightning for the spell not to kill you. But Noita is actually, I think, a very good game for getting close to what magic could be, because it has this ridiculous amount of I'm just going to try and make a spell and see how it goes, and then the spell really doesn't work out for you, or sometimes it does. And I really, really like Noita besides the game itself. And Noita's problem is it's a platformer bullet hell that really shouldn't be a platformer bullet hell.
I mean,
it does a really good job of what it is, but it's not the game I want it to be.
Right.
Do you know what Powder Dust Game is?
No.
No. Okay.
Is that the one that Noita sort of
Noita's based off a free web browser called Powder Dust Game.
Yeah.
And so you could get collections of elements, put them together, and it's actually fairly accurate on what would happen. You could put some TNT down, blow it up. You could send electricity through glass. It had resistors. There's a ton of really cool stuff you could do with this game. And so Noita basically decided to turn that into more of a game. And so they have a lot of physics stuff, and then they have the magic added in, and you have world interactions and various different things. And that's a really cool idea of turning into a game. But then they decide the bright idea to add enemies to the game. And your game needs a challenge, it needs a difficulty, and so the enemies are quite good. However, the problem, I think, arises when the enemies have 200 health and your pitiful magic missile does 5 damage, and you're plinking away at this enemy with your magic missile, and then it sneezes on you and you melt into a puddle because that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And Noita's meant to scale up and you have to try again. It's meant to be one of those hardcore games like well, what's a good example? Dark Souls. It's meant to be like Dark Souls. It's meant to be really hard. It's meant to be one of these games that you have to just keep grinding and trying. It's a roguelike. Roguelikes are meant to be really hard, and you have to be careful and cautious. And I actually get that, the roguelike thing. How roguelikes, you can learn more and more and go along, and you get to a point where you can be good at a roguelike. And the same with Dark Souls. You can go along and get good at Dark Souls. And Noita, you can go along and get good at Noita. But that's not what attracted me to Noita, and that's not what they advertised. Noita isn't meant to be like, I'm playing Dark Souls. Noita is meant to be like, hey, come be a wizard and do crazy stuff with magic. And then it's like, okay, I hope you enjoy your 2D Dark Souls. And
man,
with Polish names for all the enemies.
I would love to see a Minecraft mod that's just the Noita spell building system.
Their mods are close. Do you know Ars Magica?
I've been trying to get that one. What version is it for?
It's very, very old version of Minecraft.
Is it 1.8 or something?
Yeah, it might be 1.8 or no, it's 1.7. That's when it's the 1.7. There's newer versions of mods like Ars Magica. I'm trying to explore and learn. It takes forever to learn any mod.
Yeah, I was trying to look into Ars Magica because I saw it. Yeah. I thought I saw it on a Fix-It video recently, but
so Ars Magica was a mod, which is basically you would make a spell in its spell maker, and you'd like level up, and so you could say, I want the spell to have area of effect. I want to break blocks, and I want it to generate lava. And so you would get all those things, and then it would tell you, okay, you need to go get a snowball, you need to get a bat wing, you need to get a bucket of lava, put these all together and you get the spell, and you're like, oh cool, I have the spell, and then you try to cast it, and you don't have enough mana to cast it, or something like that. But it basically allowed you to make spells, and what I and most people did with that mod is make a tunnel bore, which is basically a spell that just breaks a ton of blocks, and you could dig ridiculously fast with it. And so it had an affinity system, so every time you cast like a fire spell, you'd become a little bit more affinity to fire. When you got enough affinity to fire, you like could walk on lava, or you get water affinity. Everyone had earth affinity because that's a digging spell. Earth affinity made you immune to fall damage, and you became a lot tougher.
Nice.
I mean, it's Minecraft. You dig in it. If there's a spell that makes digging faster, then you're going to take it.
Right.
But there's other mods that have taken from the idea of Ars Magica of getting components and combining them together and making spells. And I really like those mods, and they're called magic mods. There's actually a very interesting distinction between magic and tech mod in Minecraft. Mm-hmm. Have you looked at Botania at all?
Yes, Botania. We on stream we're using Botania and Thaumcraft.
Yeah,
which I class both of those as tech mods.
Yes, they both are. They are. They're magic mods, but they're also tech mods. They're just called magic mods. Blood Magic is also a tech mod. Those are 3 very famous magic mods in Minecraft, but they're actually tech mods.
Yeah.
And they're very interesting because they have like special effects, and they seem very magical, and that's because their effects the way they are. However, and why they are tech mods why they're magic mods opposed to tech mods is because tech mods come from Technic, the Technic pack, and there was very specific mods like Buildcraft and mods like that, and so it's more of aesthetics than anything else. How are they admit like I'm just a tech mod disguised as a magic mod,
right?
Whereas Bewitchment is actually pretty good at being a closer version of magic technology.
I think that Bewitchment might be so. I was definitely overly hyperbolic when we were playing specifically with Thaumcraft, because I was like, okay, so they've got this sanity system, they've got warp, which I thought was a really interesting take on pollution. And I was like, man, this is probably one of the best representations of magic in a mod or video game out there. And then I actually, specifically, it was your videos on Bewitchment that I saw, that I was like, wait, this is actually magic.
Mm.
This is actually much closer to what magic is, because you're like making deals with demons and you're doing the ritual thing.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on the rituals, because, you know, the rituals, when I think of ritual magic, I think you're like there for the ritual for its entirety. But from what I understand, you like click the ritual and it just does its own thing for a while.
Yeah, well, it happens pretty fast, but yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So the funny thing about Thaumcraft, the version you're playing is it 1.12 or 1.16.5?
1.12.
Okay, so that's even fine. So you're like, oh, there's a warp. This is interesting. So warp. Have you played Terraria?
Terraria? Nope.
Okay, so the warp actually comes from Terraria, and there's this purple biome, which is really horrible, awful, and you'll basically die if you go there. Terraria is 2D Minecraft,
Right.
and so warp used to be it used to spread, and there's warp biomes, and they would get massive and take
Oh.
over your world, and there's like warp entities that would come out of them and murder everything, and it was super awful. And so they actually really reduced warp, because warp could actually destroy worlds.
Oh, that
And
sounds
you could,
fantastic.
you could fight back against warp by planting silverwood trees and daylight blossoms, and they'd like slowly push an area out, which would destroy warp and repel it from the land, or slow it spread, or stop it from spreading. But so if your world ran long enough, basically you would be a little circle of pure land with this biome of horrible warp around you. Or you could actively go to a warp biome that's too close to you and dig up every single block and plant the special plants that reduce warp to destroy that whole zone. And then if one block survived and it managed to spread out, then you get a problem in your hands. I actually remember like digging trenches in the world all the way down to bedrock, because warp couldn't spread, to basically stop it from spraying over, and also building walls of sand because I had trouble spraying through sand, and building wood, and it was horrible to deal with in 1.7.
Like, that to me sounds fantastic. That's the sort of thing that I kind of wanted the warp to do in Minecraft, 'cause I wanted it to spread much faster. I wanted it to be a much bigger deal.
Yeah, no, they got rid of it because people complained about it. And
Wait, they got rid of it in Thaumcraft? That's awful.
yeah, they got rid of it. Yeah, it was super awful.
Without flux, without warp, without all of that stuff, Thaumcraft is just another factory mod.
Yeah, well, even like Bewitchment's pretty good, but I see a lot of it as like, it's not a factory mod, that's for certain, because you have to do gardening and stuff to gather it up, and it's not gardening like Botania, which is, dear God, that's not gardening. That's something its entirety. But with Bewitchment, there is still very certain things you can do, which doing action A gets you result B.
Right.
And they can be magical things. And I don't know, I'm almost getting a stickler about semantics here. Like, it can be magical, and I think that's almost enough as something being magical. But I'm not going to call it definitively magic in a way, because I know that if I do this ritual and I have enough power, I can strike you with a lightning bolt. That's like something I can do. Although, actually, it is a little bit of magic, especially, like, I know older Bewitchment, sorry, not Bewitchment, there's a mod called Witchery, which was in 1.7 as well.
Right.
And so, it had a voodoo puppet, which was a lot worse than the voodoo puppet now, like the thing for stabbing people. So currently, the voodoo protection puppet in Bewitchment, it just gets its duration used up. So, in the old one, I was playing it with my brother, and I stole a tag lock from him, and then made a voodoo puppet, and like put needles in it, and it caused like damage, and I'd shove him about so he'd like fall off a cliff or whatever.
Right.
Then one time I went to do some voodoo magic on him, and I got struck by lightning, and he had a voodoo protection puppet, and so
Oh
anytime I
my
tried to do
god.
voodoo magic on him, it would strike me with lightning, and
See
so like that
that
little
that
counter thing was just like, what the? You can do that?
yeah, and that's the sort of thing like Bewitchment out of any mod is the one that feels the closest and most magical. It's also a mod that I see and I look at and I'm like, this is purely for online play with a PvP server.
Oh, it is so for playing with other people. Like playing it by yourself, you can do some stuff, but it's like the stuff you can do with other people is a lot more. So like with witchery, so they have this curse, thankfully, again in Bewitchment, but in witchery there's this curse which would drive people insane and make them see mobs that weren't there.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really bad. So like the mods would pop up all the time. And also you could straight up curse people with vampires and lycanthropy. And I remember so we were playing with a mod pack, so my brother had gem armor, which is this insanely good armor that basically makes you invincible. However, a werewolf can't wear armor, all of his armor falls off.
Oh
So I
no.
cursed him with lycanthropy, and then all his armor fell off, and then I could go and kill him.
That's
Although
fantastic.
werewolves were ridiculously tough, and I also cursed him with that insanity. And so he actually like fought back, and he cursed me with sinking. So whenever I was in water, I dropped to the bottom of the ocean.
Oh my god.
And the thing was, I was wearing a suit of power armor, which made it so I could breathe underwater. However, I couldn't get out of water, like swimming up wasn't possible. I could only jump when I got to the bottom. So basically, I'd go along, fall into a river, walk across the bottom of the river, climb up the side of the river, and then get back out again because I had like that random curse on me. And also, like curse removing in Bewitchment has a 50% chance of succeeding. You actually
Right.
won't always get the curse off you.
That's oh
Um,
my god.
and luckily, curses aren't permanent anymore. They only last for a certain amount of time. But curses used to be forever until you remove them.
Oh
And like if you curse someone with solar hatred, then they're in a lot of trouble.
yeah, that one. Watching the video where you displayed the rituals and curses was so
Yeah,
fucking funny.
you know
Uh,
the those curses can be very deadly.
I like when I looked at it, I was like the one thing I have a problem with is like what was it when you throw a poppet into lava or something
Yeah,
you could do something that would just outright kill a person, and I'm
yeah.
like
Well,
that's
they got rid of that though. You can't throw the poppet into lava anymore. You
okay.
have to hold on to the poppet and jump into the lava yourself. So
Oof.
it used to be you could throw a poppet into lava and it would actually light the person on fire. If you threw it into water, it'd make them drown. But now poppets share all effects that apply to you. And so if you want to light someone on fire with a voodoo poppet, you hold the poppet, step into a fire. It'll light you on fire. You step out of the fire, then it'll transfer the fire to them.
Oh
Um,
my god.
if you want to drown, you have to jump into a lake, drown yourself. Then they'll take the damage at the same time you take the damage for drowning. So it's a little bit different. The main thing with for poppets is you have a poppet and you use a brew on yourself, and then
Right.
that will send the brew effect to the person at range, and it'll take the brew off you. And that's like the best way to use the poppet. I think if you want to like do a cheeky little thing to someone, like just make them randomly levitate, or I don't know, make them volatile so they'll explode when they take damage.
Oh my god, man. The I am so I wonder if it would. You said it transfers any effect that's on you, right?
Yes, any effect that's like effect. So you can transfer like strength, you can transfer withering, any of that.
That. Oh my god! Wait, you can transfer withering. Does that actually
Yeah,
mean? Huh. I wonder if
yeah.
it could help you like fight
Oh
some of
no,
the mob
definitely.
bosses and
If
so on.
like if you're fighting a witch or something and they apply effects, if you have a voodoo puppet of someone, they can basically take the hit for you.
Oh, see that would make for very interesting.
So someone
Um,
just be going along and you're like fighting a coven of witches, and then suddenly they've like got every single negative potion effect imaginable on
right.
themselves.
Yeah, like I imagine an aesthetic scripted video where it's like you've got the Witch King who's like fighting people, and you're just switching out puppets as as he's fighting, and you see
Yeah.
back at base like your ragged slaves just suffering.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be people. You can take taglocks of sheep, and
Wait,
so
you
it
could?
hit all
Oh
the
my
sheep.
god!
Yeah, you can take taglocks of sheep and then apply the poppet to them.
Oh, that is so good.
So actually, in thoughts with that, you can actually have a voodoo poppet of sheep, and then you carry around. And if you get lit on fire, the sheep will get lit on fire for you. Um, so, unfortunately, if you get strength, then the sheep would steal your strength. So,
That makes it even funnier. You just have this one super
so
powered sheep.
yeah, so you don't want to be holding the poppet when you're getting the strength applied to you. Um, I
Did
don't
you?
recall if it completely because some things it steals the effect, like getting lit on fire, but other things it just shares the effect, and I can't completely remember. You think I would? I mean, I'm like the foremost expert on bewitchment. But
Is it possible to do so for iron golems? Asks Amber.
yeah, you can if you can sneak up on a iron golem and punch it in the butt with a tag lock, then you can definitely do that. However,
That's
you want
hilarious.
to you don't want to actually hit the iron golem because it'll wreck you. Um,
Right.
you
Now,
want to tag lock it.
the tag locks were. You were talking about how you can set them indoors or something.
So yeah, so there's Elderwood, I think it is. You can apply a tag lock to Elderwood, and that locks Elderwood. So if you apply your tag lock to Elderwood, then it will make it so only you can open up that door unless you take an
Ah.
anthem to the door, and then you can whitelist and blacklist people. So if you have a tag lock of, let's say, your mortal enemy, and you tag lock the door with them, and then you use the knife to switch it from a whitelist to a blacklist, then I'll blacklist them, and now they're the only person who can't open the door.
And okay, see, what I was talking about is it might have been you, it might have been somebody else. I thought you could put a tag lock into a door
Yeah, yeah, you
and
can do
then
that. So, oh no,
snag
that's a
someone's
different kind of
blood with
door.
it.
Yeah, that's a different kind of door that can do that. I can't remember which one.
Okay. Yeah,
It
and then they were talking about how you can also like steal you can ID a tag lock from a bed,
Yeah,
which
you can ID. Yeah, there's a kind of door. It's either you or Cypress doors you can put a tag lock into, and then when someone touches the door and opens it, then you can get their tag lock out of it.
that is so good. I just imagine that specific server, whatever PvP server you set up for that, would just be full of rampant paranoia.
Oh, definitely. The Bewitchment server, there actually is a server by the Bewitchment team, um, which there's quite a few things you have to be careful about. There used to be a plant, it was a rose, and then it got applied to a bunch of different plants. They removed it, but if you walked on it, then it'd steal a bit of your blood. And then a witch could come along and take the blood off it and put it into a
Oh
tag
my
lock. And
god, that
so
is
if you walk through a witch's garden, then you might get yourself tagged. Then they could get a bit of you. And you never want a witch to have your tag lock.
yeah. Oh my, see, oh, that puts me in mind of like every witch related fantasy story. It puts me in mind of like all of the things where normally it's like you don't want them to have your name, but
Yeah.
I mean oh, that just sounds fantastic. Has there been any other mods you can think of or games that use similar mechanics to Bewitchment?
I think Bewitchment is based off Witchery, which is the OG witchcraft mod, which did everything it did and more, to be perfectly honest. I mean, they've done a really good job trying to recreate Witchery, and then they slowly moved away from it because the creators kept quitting because it's a really, really demanding thing to try to make a spiritual successor, and the latest guys decide that he's going to make his own mod that's called Bewitchment, and it's no longer the spiritual successor of um, Witchery, it's Bewitchment now, which I'm perfectly fine with him doing.
Yeah.
But mods like that, Thaumcraft can't really do that. There's certain things in Thaumcraft that you can sort of do like that. Um, I haven't really explored a lot of other magic mods. I do know that the that one thing I told you about, the into the not the that Cthulhu like mod. Um,
Yeah, that was one.
yeah, so it has multiplayer spells, so you can like invade other people's dreams and make them see things in their dreams, and you can um, cause things to happen to them, and you can find them, and you can leave snares for them. So if they try to invade your dreams, you can capture them, and
Wait,
has a few things like that.
dreams. Okay, maybe we're thinking. Maybe I'm thinking different Cthulhu mod.
Yeah, what one did you have? The
There is one where like I know the very it is a Cthulhu tech mod. Okay, so when I talk about tech mods, I'm not talking about ones from the Tech It pack. I'm talking
yeah
about like they tend to have the book where you
yeah
progressively learn technologies from them. And it's the deterministic thing. You do
yeah.
these things, but it's the one where like you have weepers, which are humans
Yeah,
with
no,
water
no,
in their
that is
head.
the mod.
That
That is
is
the
it.
mod. Yeah, yeah, that's
People
the
can
mod.
invade your dreams.
Yeah, there's multiplayer stuff in that. There's a
Oh,
section devoted to multiplayer stuff. Um, so
okay.
you like the day in the dream isn't very big. You can just basically find people's locations. You can give them nightmares.
Oh,
You
okay,
can do
okay.
slight things to them, but yeah. So it does have effects you can apply to other people, and you can do some nasty stuff. But yeah, the one with the man, that was a disturbing mod. Honestly, when you got to the part with the weepers, that was kind of
Yeah,
grotesque.
Beyond the Veil. That's what it's
Yeah,
called.
Beyond the Veil gets a little grotesque.
Yeah, it does. And that's part of what makes it so interesting for me. Though
Mhm.
I don't like the fact that it seems to force you down the Sahagin route.
Yeah, well, that's all they've made so far. I went actually down some other routes, and I talked very briefly with the mod maker on it, just on his forum,
Hmm.
and he's only made that route so far. So,
Yeah.
but
Like,
he wants to do three routes you can go down. He wants to have um, a sort of gray route. He wants to have the like horrible dark route where you get worshipped as a god and try to get closer to Cthulhu. And then he wants to have basically a redemption route.
see, yeah, my problem, like, there's so much interesting in Lovecraft. And it looks like
Yeah.
this mod draws
It draws one of
most
the aspects.
it draws most of its inspiration from like the Shadow of Innsmouth.
Yeah.
Um, and so like it's all about going down the Hamlet path, the fisherman village
Yeah. Well,
into you
to
become a
be
fish.
perfectly honest, most people have the use that one story. There's like
Yeah.
three stories people draw from Lovecraft.
Yeah, there's Mountains of Madness, there's Shadow of Innsmouth, and then I guess sometimes the King in Yellow.
The King in Yellow isn't even Lovecraft.
Is it?
So the King in Yellow is a poem which Lovecraft didn't write
Oh,
that
okay.
he was inspired by, and most people
Yeah.
attribute the King of Yellow to him. And Hastur is the King in Yellow, but Lovecraft created Hastur. The King in Yellow is his entirely own entity, though, but they're
Right.
one and the same. Yeah, but Lovecraft's inspiration came from the King in Yellow, which is a really disturbing story.
Yeah.
Which I
Yeah.
think itself was inspired by the Mask of Red Death, slightly.
Yeah. And like when I started when I saw K Help's series on Beyond the Veil,
Yeah,
um and I saw that the Shoggoth were locked behind becoming a fish person and that the statues were locked behind becoming a fish person. I was like, "Oh, that's a bit of a shame."
yeah.
I can kind of understand why the Shoggoth would be
The
because
Shoggoth are honestly the coolest thing, though, in that whole mod.
yeah.
And why I say that is because they built those cities, and it's super buggy, and like it's really, really annoying to use, but it's also really cool. They can have a Shoggoth build a city.
Yeah. I loved seeing it, and a lot of the narrative stuff from that mod
Hmm.
was very well done. I
Yeah.
think that the mod author did a great job of capturing that Lovecraft feel, making you feel like a stranger in a strange place.
Yeah. No, so when I was going through the Magic mods, that's one of the mods that I focused on for quite a while.
Hmm.
Um, and you can probably find it just by looking at my thumbnails when you find the ones that look Lovecraftian. That's why I'm focusing on that mod.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember seeing that.
yeah, so one of the things I did is I don't remember the exact effects I did, but I basically layered my voice so whenever it was like the Great Old One talking to you or one of his servants,
Hmm.
I would layer my voice in recording, so I just get like copy it over and over again, and then I'd make like one high pitched, then one really deep, then one just slightly deeper, then one incredibly like not understandably deep. Then add like reverb and distortion to all the voices, and then um, I just went and like made gummy wet mouth noises near the microphone and then like made that layered and echoed and put that in the background. And it came out with like a very, I think, Lovecrafty effect of just like if they were speaking to you, what it might sound like a bit. But what I was doing is like, man, if anyone just got like the isolated of me just making that mouth sounds, they'd just be grossed out.
I was about to say, I just imagine like you're making the recordings for it, and then somebody walks into the room, and you're just sitting there, blah, blah, blah.
I'm doing ASMR. Don't judge me.
Fantastic. Oh man. This is my elder thing ASMR.
Yeah.
Oh
There's
man.
people who actually do that. Like
Elder thing ASMR?
they have like Lovecraft inspired ASMR.
Wow. That is funny as shit. So
Yeah.
you said you're interested in doing other games. Is it? I see you still do Battle Brothers,
Yeah.
and you've done some Skyrim. I know I'm
Yeah.
personally a huge fucking Skyrim fan. Is your focus generally on games with magic in them, or is that just like an incidental thing that happened
It's
with
an incidental
Minecraft?
thing. It's just an incidental thing that happened. Is I think a part of it with the Minecraft's magic mods and vampirism focusing on that is because so there is a small collection of YouTubers who make videos on mods. I mean, there's people who do like Let's Play playthroughs, but there's actually probably around, I don't know, 50 YouTubers. I'm like, that's my guess, that cover like how-tos on mods and do showcase and reviews and go in depth into them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more mods than all of us can cover. That's just a simple fact. And we also cover the same mods sometimes. Like we'll go like we all really like one mod, and I think for me it's I just cover the magic mods because I find them interesting. But if there's a tech mod which I got interested in, I cover it. Um, yeah, with video games, it's more of just the nature of the video games I like usually have magic. It's not so much that I focus on magic. It's I like to focus on adventure and story a lot, and a narrative or something. Like a good example would be my Waystones showcase.
Hmm.
Um, it just listen to a bit of it, and it's going to be completely different than I guarantee it's going to be completely different than any other mod showcase you've ever looked at.
Okay.
Um, and what comes close to is two very old YouTubers who don't do mod reviews anymore. But um, this is absolutely bizarre showcase, which I just did on a whim, and I think it turned out really well.
All right. Yeah, because I don't know. I think I might have presented you with what I'm trying to focus on, which is
Mm.
specifically actually magic
Yeah.
in video games, because
Mhm.
I don't think so far it's actually been really disappointing to go around looking for games with like interesting, new, or good magic systems. Because
Hmm.
let me tell you, there ain't many of them.
Yeah. No. So there are some older games that have some cool magic. There's Might and Magic: Dark Messiah,
Yep, that one gets
which
suggested a lot.
yeah, I like that's because it has very cool magic. Um, have you ever heard of the game Dominions?
I think I've heard. I think Wick has suggested that one before.
Yeah,
Someone's
so
probably.
Dominions is a strategy game, um, which is made by two theology professors. So they're guys who study religion and ancient religion and mythology. And they basically made a video game out of that. And it has one of the most insane magic systems you'll ever come across, just in the sheer amount of spells in it.
Okay.
It's ludicrous how many spells they have in it, and you don't know what all they do. Um, Heroes of Might and Magic 4 has a magic system no one understands, and people think it's good, but no one really knows. All the other Heroes of Might and Magic games, magic system is pretty straightforward, and it's like, this is just a feature of the game. But Heroes of Might and Magic 4, people go, it's really cool. I have no idea how it works.
That's
So,
fantastic. That
um,
sounds amazing.
unfortunately, Heroes of Might and Magic 4 is also considered one of the worst Heroes of Might and Magic games out there.
Oh no.
Um, it's
Sounds
considered the
perfect.
worst. It's considered the worst of the ones that people actually like. How's that, for example?
Okay.
Because
That's
number 5 to number 8 are all quite hated.
oof.
Like number 4 is considered not good, but it's not hated like the ones that came after it.
That's
Uh,
that's a fucking glowing review right there.
well, number 2 and number 3 are both amazing. Number 3 might be one of the best games in the world ever made,
Okay.
just straight up as a video game. Um, And although I like number 2 better, I think number 3 is probably one of the most mastercrafted games out there. And 1,000 Angry Russians will definitely tell you that's the best game ever.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Um, Other games I've come across with good magic. Uh, there's one, but you will never be able to play it.
Oh,
It's called Dungeon Lords, and um,
sounds
you
familiar.
you can get the game on Steam, but you won't get the game I've played.
Oh,
And I had to, so we had an old copy and it stopped working. I actually ended up buying a new copy off of eBay. And so the game there's 4 different versions of the game.
oh no.
So there's the initial release of the game, which is absolute garbage. Um, there is the gold edition of the game, which is what I played. And basically, the creator of the game went back and fixed a ton of bugs to make it so the game worked, and then he left it after getting it working. There is the XXVIXYI version of the game, or something like that, which is someone else trying to rebalance the game and make it work better, and they kind of made the game worse. And then there's the Steam edition, which is trying to fix that one I just talked about and made it even worse again. And so, one of the really charming things about this game is how buggy it is and how janky it is. But it has 4 different kinds of magic in it, and it's very very simple video game magic. So it's like I use the Fireball spell book, and I can cast Fireball. I use the Magic Missile spell, and I can cast Magic Missile. However, the spells have a cooldown, so that's pretty video game. There's no uh like mana to it. However, remember what we talked about? It's like bugs, sort of like a bug could make something seem more magical.
Yeah.
So the game's so buggy that sometimes you like cast a spell and it just doesn't cast, and you're like, "What the?" And it's like, am I too low level? And that's a part of it. So sometimes like you can cast spells and only has a chance of working, and then other times it's like, no, the spell just didn't work. But then that's just one of the kinds of magic. And then there's cleric magic, which are these symbols, and they're incredibly powerful. And you're like, oh, like after my brother beat the game and I stopped playing it, we were looking it up, and there's this one part of the game where you have to swim across the ocean, and it's incredibly tedious. And the cleric has a spell that lets them walk on water, and they have a spell that lets them fly, and they can basically skip that whole part of the game. And it's like, what? Why was I a cleric? And then there's my favorite kind of magic, which is nether magic. And basically, you go throughout the game and you kill enemies, and they drop useless components. Like you kill a rat, you get rat tails, right? You know that sort of thing. Like
Right.
You kill a skeleton, you get bone dust, or you get dead man's hair. And you're like, this is useless. The nether magic is you take that stuff and you combine it together randomly, and then it'll give you spells. And so it's like if you combine, you have to learn them more time. But if you like combined rat's tails with with bone dust and something else, you get the spell to summon rats. And if you combine serpent fangs with I think it's scorpion tails, you get a pain bolt. So you can basically combine these useless random components you find, which you can like sell for 2 gold, into incredibly powerful spells. And you're like, oh, I've got the spell to summon the Doom Knight, and you cast it, and the spell doesn't work. And you're like, what? What? And then I looked up, it's like, you need to be a level 9 at nether magic to actually be able to summon this guy. It's like, but you let me cast the spell! And it uses really expensive components, and then I cast it again, and it randomly works. And it's like, oh, okay, so even if I'm too low level, I still have a chance of casting it. But also, so every other magic you cast it goes on cooldown, then you get to cast a spell again. When you use nether magic, it's just straight up used up. And so if you mess up with a spell or miscast, then you don't get it back. And then there's a fourth kind of magic, which is rune magic, which me and my brother still don't understand, because we've never got it to work. And so it's a gem of a game that's completely unplayable, and there's no copies of it that work, because the online copy you can buy is a debugged version that just makes the game worse.
That's fantastic. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, so the fast travel system of this game, like I said, you have to swim across the ocean. You get to an island. The island is filled with giant monsters that are incredibly hard to kill. Each time you kill one, they have a chance of dropping a moonstone. If you collect enough moonstones, let's say like 4, you can go to a moon portal. And so there's like one in every major city. So you put the moonstones into the moon portal, and you have to get the code from a different city you've already been to. That lets you travel to that city. However, you've used up the 4 moonstones for that code. You need another 4 to activate this one. Then you can travel between these 2 points. You also have to know the code, so if you didn't write them down, don't remember them, then good luck traveling. God. And the walking time, I kid you not, to get in between major settlements takes 15 minutes to half an hour. And how I know this is, so my brother and I played this when we were much younger, and we had a limit of time we could play video games for. So we'd set a timer. We were allowed to play a video game for an hour once every 2 days.
Okay.
And so it's like, we actually would try to do everything in a city before traveling to the elf city, because it's like, I'm in for if there's no monsters along the way, I'm in for a good 20-minute walk to get to the elf town.
Right.
Now, that's if there's no monsters away. Quite often, the game has a feature which is wandering monsters, which just randomly spawns monsters in your way. And we played this game on a really old computer, so the game would freeze and you'd have to wait, and then 20 skeletons would appear on the road and attack you. God. And the longer the game froze for, the more entities were coming. So you basically knew you were in for a really bad fight if the game froze for like a minute or 2.
Right.
And I also remembering actually finding out, like, when I started playing just a little bit with the copy I got, so I was like, you can turn off Wandering Monsters? That would be really nice to know. Also, so the Wandering Monster has difficulties. The base game difficulty for Wandering Monsters is set to hard, and the base game difficulty is set to difficult. And that's like so it's like the base game's not normal, so I was like, oh, we are playing this game on harder than normal difficulty.
Fantastic. That game sounds like a mess. The game sounds like a
Yeah.
damn mess.
No, that's one of the things I want to make a review on. I want to put a lot of effort into it, and unfortunately the game's quite long, but I want to like do it justice. And you just need time and like to set it aside and like, okay, this is the project I'm now working on.
Yeah.
Like I had do you know the saying albatross around your neck?
Yes, I am actually familiar with that one.
Yeah, so Botania was the albatross around my neck for 2 months, which was basically stopping me from working on any other projects. It's like, oh, I haven't completed making my Botania guide yet. Oh, I still have to make that. I can't work on something else now. I never got around to making the Botania guide.
Yeah.
So
I had that feel with the RimWorld project. Like I said, it was 29 videos. That was a review of every class in RimWorld of Magic.
RimWorld of Magic.
Yep.
Or sorry, Rim of Magic. Yeah, I'm familiar with that mod. You know, I really like that mod, but I also hate it.
Yeah.
And I think what I hate it is it ruins RimWorld. It makes RimWorld into a different game.
It definitely does that, yeah.
But one of the things I hate the most is when you're playing it, and then you get a raid, and you're like, okay, it's a raid, I can handle this. And then one of the raiders is a level 5 like warlock, and you're like, what the? And then they like summon a meteorite to smite your base. And it's like, this was meant to be a simple raid. What are you doing to me?
Yeah, it's an easy raid, and that one easy raid is a high level summoner, and that easy
like
raid...
a side blade person who like beheads one of your party.
Yep.
It's terrible.
So when I first like when I picked up on streaming, because I was streaming for a while before I went over to RimWorld, but when I really picked up on streaming, I was streaming RimWorld of Magic with a lot of viewer integration mods that let viewers do stuff. So
oh, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah, it killed it. So it's what made RimWorld interesting enough for me to play, because I like the concept of RimWorld. Don't get me wrong, but RimWorld is boring as fuck. RimWorld itself.
I'll disagree with you there, but whatever.
Yeah, like RimWorld itself, not fun without mods for me. But you know, having viewers being able to be fucking wizards and so on, it was a ton of fun. It was also a goddamn mess constantly.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh man. So okay, what would you say is your favorite mod for Minecraft, or what is your favorite game or whatever? What do you enjoy playing the most? Because I don't actually like to class video games and mods separately anymore, because when
they make the game.
Yeah.
Like Skyrim's the best example of that. Skyrim makes the game. Sorry, mods make Skyrim, not it.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So I'd say actually Skyrim's probably one of my favorite games of all time. I've played it a lot. I really, really like mods in it. Also really like Mount and Blade.
Okay.
And I'm really waiting for Mount and Blade 2 to have Magic Hydra added to it, which is a mod that was in #1, and someone's going to pick up that project eventually to make Magic Hydra for Mount and Blade. So Mount and Blade is a medieval warlord simulator, is the best way to put it. You're basically a medieval noble, or sorry, you're a medieval person that can basically take over a kingdom, and so you've got like massive armies, and it's a pretty fun game.
Yeah.
And the second game really improved on it, but the modding isn't quite as... The modding is more accessible, but they haven't released all the modding tools, and the game's not done yet, so I feel like the modders aren't ready to invest a ton of time then suddenly like, yeah, we had an update that broke your mod, so yeah, fix that, why don't you?
Yep. Space Engineers goes through the same thing.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of the modders for the second game are basically waiting for them to actually have it finished to a certain point, start modding it. But yeah, I really like Mount and Blade, and I mean, I think Minecraft is one of my favorite games of all time because it's an amazing game. It's even base game Minecraft has such a limited potential. It's kind of insane.
Yeah. When I talk about creativity games, like
Mhm.
Minecraft is definitely what comes to mind. You know, there's stuff people have accomplished in Minecraft that you're literally not supposed to be able to do. The flying
Yeah,
machine being my favorite example of like
yeah,
this is not part of the game.
yeah. Well, like recently, a guy this was posted on the Reddit figured out how to make infinitely growing tower of railroad tracks that defy the game rules, and it just sort of goes up like this repeatedly. It's like this weird piston thing that a guy figured out,
That's
and the so there's like the redstone stuff in Minecraft, which is really cool. There's building stuff, and there's exploring, which has always been a part of Minecraft. And with the updates coming out with the mountain update, the cliffs and caves updates, that's made exploring a lot cooler. It's going to be amazing when
mm-hmm.
it comes out. But then, you know, like if you don't want to wait for that, you can get like a mod that adds caverns, it adds buildings, like a Chocolate Quest Report adds a ridiculous amount of buildings, and there's biomes of plenty, adds more biomes to the game, so exploring's cooler. And there's just so much you can do with mods in Minecraft. You can completely change the game. Same with Skyrim to a certain extent, but like, holy cow, you can change Minecraft.
Yeah. That's so Minecraft. I don't know. I don't really know how to express. I have a bit of anxiety around what's going to happen to game development because um, games aren't being as inventive anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I feel like all of that inventive capacity is it's being pushed into Minecraft modding. Like,
Oh, definitely. No, the modding's always been really good for Minecraft, but there's a lot more people who do it now, so you have to sort of dig through it and find good things. And there's cheap Minecraft mods, which I have quite a bit of disdain for, and people make YouTube videos out of them, like gain this baby slime to a king slime, and they have like the level 1 to level 999, and those are very straightforward and simple mods, which are like good for a little feature. And then there's like Thaumcraft or Buildcraft or Bewitchment, something you can invest some time to.
right?
Or there's other mods like the Epic Combat mod, which completely overhauls combat in the game.
Yeah.
Um, there was these older mods. I actually don't see as many mods like them anymore, which is a shame because I really like them. They actually fundamentally changed the game. Like Epic Battle Mods is close to it, but so there was the Gulliver's mod, which you could shrink yourself into a tiny little person, or you could make yourself into a giant. And the giant was kind of boring because you could just walk through blocks and destroy them. But when you were tiny, a fishing rod turned into a grappling hook, and shears became your new swords, and buttons became pressure plates. Know how staircases have those little holes in them? So you put a staircase down and a bunch of blocks, you could fit through that space, so you could like
Oh my
crawl about
god.
inside the walls if you built a house right. And it was really cool. And then there's the different mod, which was I think like the parkour mod, which allowed you to climb up walls and do combat rolls, and you could like use handlebars and stuff. And
Oh
that's
my god, that
what's really
sounds
cool.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so part of my anxiety around other games is um that Minecraft modders aren't moving out into game development
Mm.
because it like Bewitchment. Imagine an entire PvP centric game built out of Bewitchment.
Yeah. Well, so the guy who made uh, Ars Magica
Hmm.
actually quit making his Ars Magica because he decided to make a video game. I've never seen that
Really?
video game, never heard of it. And he's actually coming back. He's going to be making a newer version of Ars Magica. But he was planning to make a video game. And do you know about Valheim? Probably
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Valheim modding seems getting really, really cool, and Valheim's also just a really good game even without modding. But the modding scene is getting really, really interesting. For Valheim, it's like kind of a amalgamation between Minecraft and Skyrim. And that's sort of what the modding scene's turning into, which I really like. Um, and
S
I actually got to do more stuff on Valheim. It's such a cool game.
It looks like it. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen to fit the exact niche I'm looking for,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah,
a little unfortunate, but hey.
Yeah,
I
but it's a cool game.
yeah, I like the physics in it. I think the
Hmm.
physics in it are really good. Um,
Oh, I did test the bow physics though; they're awful.
oh, I mean like the
Um,
build physics, like the
yeah,
fact
yeah,
that if you build a heavy house, it'll just fall in on itself.
yeah. No, that's really cool. I did archery when I was younger, and so
Okay.
when games have it's there's always this thing. So do you recall that medieval game that came out is like popular for a very short blip and is like meant to be ultra realistic medieval combat or like an RPG?
Oh, Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance. So, uh that game was dumb. That game was really dumb.
That
Um
game needed a mod scene.
and it was modded for a short while and then stopped being modded because people decided to go back to modding Skyrim.
Yep.
Um but So one of the biggest, there's three huge gripes actually I have with Kingdom Come Deliverance. So I have done archery. Archery in Kingdom Come Deliverance is harder than archery in real life, and it's meant to be a video game. Okay, that's not all. Um, I don't know how these got into this country. Let's just put it that way. But these are lockpicks. Okay, I have lockpicks.
Okay.
They're legal to have in Canada, but they're not legal to ship here. So I have no idea how they got here. But I have picked locks. And it's easier to pick locks in real life than to pick locks in Kingdom Come Deliverance. Also, so there is a group in Whitehorse, Yukon, called Company of the White Wolf. So they are one of the top medieval combat teams, or were anyways for a short
Oh
while,
no.
in Canada.
Okay.
They represented Team Canada quite often. It'd be them and then a few other people from like Alberta and like a few other parts. But they were the main team for quite a while. So I have fought in full armor with a sword and shield, with axes, with pole arms. And that fighting in Kingdom Come Deliverance, your character gets exhausted way faster than someone fighting in armor would. And they're also, their blows against armor doesn't buckle like that. Even when it's sharp, the only way to get through armor is with really heavy weapons and stabbing. And the game has like, oh, this person's wearing a helmet. I hit them on the head with a sword. The sword can go through. And I know like the armor is better than a lot of games because most games do armor terribly. Like
Yeah.
fiction, movies, games do armor terribly. The point of armor is you don't die. Armor isn't fancy tinfoil. It's heavy, uncomfortable stuff that you wear to save your life.
Right.
Um, and the worst injury I got in the fighting is I got hit in the head with a pole arm, and I was wearing a helmet at the time. The helmet had improper padding, so the helmet hit me in the side of the head with the metal, and I got a minor concussion, but I was fine afterwards. However, if I hadn't had the helmet, my head would have exploded. And I'm not joking about that.
Right.
Like the forearm
No.
wasn't sharpened, but the force he swung at the side of my head would have caved in my skull.
God damn.
Um, it's as simple as that. And like this, how hard we get hit in that with armor, you're like, I feel nothing. Like you're fine. You're completely fine. If you weren't wearing armor, you'd be dead if you were doing that. And so it's just like the game's like it's archery is worse than real life. It's armor. I mean, armor's like the lowest of the gripes, but then the lockpicking is worse than real life, and it's just like, oh, come on. And so when games are like, I don't know, games meant to be fancy. Like Skyrim does it great. I feel like a master archer. You inevitably turn into a stealth archer when you play Skyrim. That's just a fact. You are a stealth archer. You are no other class. You're not a two-handed swords user. You're not a magic user. You are a stealth archer. And it's fine because the archery in Skyrim feels good. When you're playing CS:GO, you're insanely accurate. You're like more accurate than humanly possible with your gun. Even if I suck at CS:GO, I'm insanely accurate. When like in Minecraft, well, I mean you're superhuman.
Right.
But and the bow feels good. You can hit things with the bow. You can hit things far farther away than I could hit a bow with in real life. But in Valheim, I try to shoot the bow and this little deer just hops out of the way, and it's like my arrow wasn't even close to hitting that thing.
No. Personally, though, I personally loved Kingdom Come Deliverance for the like a lot of the features you were actually just saying are pretty bad. Because I like the sort of hardcore thing. I like the I like those difficult games. Um,
Well, I'm fine with difficult games. No, my problem is just the armor isn't as good as armor actually is.
yeah, but I also I would have loved if someone had expanded on the alchemy system in it. When
Mm,
they added the ability to buy a house, I'm like, man, I hope you can fucking do a garden like I did in Skyrim when I
mm.
played through a poison character in Skyrim. By the way, poisoning in Kingdom Come Deliverance feels fantastic. You want to feel like a witch? You play Kingdom Come Deliverance and you try to challenge yourself to only poison people to death. It's awful. You're not going to have fun. It's amazing. Like you
It's
can't
awfully not going to have fun. It's amazing. Yeah, I hear a little bit of contradiction there, but
right. Um, but I'm sure you've had that sort of experience in a video game before. It's like
yeah,
this is so incredibly frustrating. I hate it. I hate everything. This video game's awful. Why don't you stop playing it? I love this. What are you talking about?
yeah, it's worth the investment of doing it sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, well, so an example I constantly have, so cheating in Minecraft. Um, so something that some people complain about in my videos is like, why do you cheat? And it's because there's 24 hours in a day. I work for 5 of them. Recording a video takes time. Editing takes video time.
Oh
I
my
don't
god.
have time to wander across the world looking for something, so I'm going to go into creative mode and fly there, and you can suck it up because I don't have enough time in my life.
Yeah, man. Oh god, editing takes so long.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
and so that is why I cheat in Minecraft. But I actually have hard set rules, and this is because so I was playing on a server with a bunch of friends, and we had a World War One and Two mod, which let you build planes, and it was actually like really in depth, really cool. How you could build planes, you could add weapons to them, and so we all split up into teams. So I was on a team with my best friend, and other teams had like 3 people in them. So we were a 2-person team. And he built a machine to get us resources really fast, and I built up some several systems, and then I spent most of the rest of the game building a plane. And then we loaded up some bombs into the plane, and we both got into the plane. So he was the pilot. I was going to drop the bombs. We flew over our opponent's bases and committed war crimes. Um,
clear. Yep.
and it was like really cool. And we basically kind of definitively decided that me and my friend had like won that little duel because we like built that plane and went through it, and it's like really earned, and it felt quite cool. And then we went to creative mode and just started messing around with a bunch of stuff. And it's like, oh, we're flying the planes about, and we went through the things. Then we got bored of it and left. And it's like the planes, if we cheated them in, it wasn't worth it. Like
Right.
it didn't matter. We hadn't earned those things. That we didn't get to use them properly. We could give them unlimited fuel, unlimited bombs. We could get whatever we want in this creative mode, and it completely defeated the purpose of what we're doing. And so when my rule basically is. If it's something I can do easily, but it just takes time, then I'll cheat in. So it's like if I need diamonds, let's say, not even diamonds, if I need iron, and I don't have a quarry at the moment, but I could go and mine like a stack of iron.
Hmm.
And I've shown I can mine a stack of iron incredibly fast. There's absolutely no risk to me. I'm just going to bring in that stack of iron because I need it now to continue doing what I'm doing. Even then, I limit myself with that sometimes. It's more of like, I just need 200 logs to complete this little building project that I want to do, or whatever. And so I'm not going to waste my time doing these things. I've already proven I can do it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just cheat, basically, to get resources because I don't want to go through that momentary effort. Even then, sometimes it's iffy, and I have to, like, sometimes I just do go mining, and it's, like, basically a point of what's more worth it to me. Like if I'm really deep into mods, then it's basically the point I've surpassed the base game Minecraft to such an extent that the base game no longer matters is where I start cheating like that.
Right.
And even then I try to limit that because it does cheapen the experience for me and the viewer. And I mean, it's kind of weird. The viewer doesn't really matter to me all that much. You get into this habit. You probably have done a bit with streaming video games. I mean, streaming is probably easier, but recording things are like, we did it, or like, let's do this, like you're speaking as if you're doing it with people.
It gets weird. Those moments get a little bit weird.
Yeah. So sometimes be going along. It's like, we did it. Wait a minute. We didn't do it. I did. It's me. This is mine, not yours. You're just some person. I don't know you.
Well, yeah, but you do understand why you do that, right?
Yeah.
It's to help build the connection so the person sticks around and comes. Yeah, and
I don't care about the connection.
Hey, honestly, that makes what you're doing better in my mind, because I get squicked out by people being too much like trying to harvest that parasocial relationship too much or whatever. Like
That's actually part of the reason why I do it. I don't entirely want a parasocial relationship. Like, I'll interact with people, I'll talk with them, like they speak with people in the comments, but to a certain point, like, except for maybe two people, and it's mostly even just one guy, it's like, you're the guy I know, and you've actually put a lot of effort into talking to me, and you helped me out with this, and so that's where our relationship comes from, is we're both getting something out of it. Like, this is actually a proper relationship. Whereas with most people, it's like, okay, I entertain you guys, make this video, you watch it, and that's our interaction, and maybe you'll comment every once in a while, but I really don't know you. Like, it's actually sometimes disturbing, because I know YouTubers talk about this, but it's probably true for me that there's people who have probably built up an idea of who I am and the way I am from how I do my videos, and I try to do videos pretty true to form, but like if you watch some of them, I'm like putting on an act or doing something silly in them because that's just how I felt at the moment. And luckily, this hasn't happened to me because there's 7 billion people, and I don't have enough for basically someone randomly on the street to recognize me. But like, if that ever happens, like, oh man, I really like that one video you did where you did that thing, and I'll basically cross my eyes and go, what?
Yeah,
because I won't remember doing that.
So I have a YouTube channel. I make videos. I don't talk anything like this in those videos. In those videos, I talk much quieter. I talk at a much more even pace. This is actually, I had to do that. I started doing that because my own voice will annoy me sometimes. Like,
most people's own voice annoys them.
Well, I'm a fairly mentally disturbed individual. I've got a lot of anxieties and so on going on.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in the Discord at all, most of what it is me bitching about something that's causing anxiety that day. And the rest of it is I hate posting memes. Not that I hate posting. It's someone in the chat named I hate. But it's a whole, hey Pixel, how you doing? But it's a whole lot of me talking about my anxieties and so on. And my own voice started really bugging me when I'm sitting there alone in a very quiet room trying to convince myself I'm talking to an audience.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So for me, I actually wanted to do YouTube for a very long time, but I used to actually have a much higher pitched voice than I did. And whenever I do a recording, it's like my voice sounds absolutely awful. And then my voice got to the way it was when I'm, I think I got like 17 maybe. However, even then, it's like, I think for me, it's like I accepted the way my voice sounds, and it sounds pretty close to how it does in your head. Like, that's one of the things. Your voice, how it sounds in your head, to how it sounds actually in recording, because you can even hear yourself speak, but then you hear it in your head, right? And then you hear the recording, you're like, what? Or even when you're speaking to yourself, you can drive yourself insane. And we are fine, Pixel. Pixelmon Gaming. Oh no, maybe I don't want to associate with this person.
It's a Pixel Melon. Pixel Melon. Yep, Pixel Melon is one of the people.
If it was Pixelmon, then I might have a problem with it.
Oh, come on. Pixelmon is adorable. Like, that mod, it's probably not great, but it is adorable.
It's a very popular mod too, and it is adorable, but Um, if you have Pixelmon, you can't have any other mod. I'm sorry, there's like a few support mods you can add onto it, but
Yeah.
it's one of those mods you're turning your game into Pokemon, and you have to accept that.
Yep.
And I was
Uh,
going to add that. I was going to add Pixelmon to a mod pack, and then I was just like experimenting. I was like, no, 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 not having this mod. It's too
yeah,
much.
doesn't it like it like drastically changes up the mechanics of how Minecraft works, from what I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
I haven't actually played with it yet because yeah, I don't like the idea of entirely converting my game over to a
Into
new
Pokemon.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, making it into Pokemon. But on the voice, that's interesting because like a lot of people have expressed they don't like the sound of their own voice. Like if
Hmm.
you record your voice and listen to your recording, um, I'd say probably 90% of people, even more, maybe 95% of people, do not like the sound of their own voice
Yep.
when they hear it from recording. And I don't know what that is. I think it's just because they're not used to it.
Yeah. It's
Um,
so the thing is, you hear your voice differently when you speak. You hear it differently in your head than it
yeah,
sounds in a recording. And the thing is, if someone else were to talk back to you with your own voice, it would
yeah,
sound different than both of those.
yeah.
Um, and it that's that last one is not a thing I can confirm, but I highly suspect it because the
Mhm.
voice you hear when you talk, um, it has to do with the way sound travels. It is
Yeah,
traveling
you're
into
projecting
your own
it
head.
outward, and it's also the vibrations are in your own
Yeah,
head, and you also have your thoughts going on at the exact same time. So
yeah, and plus you project an image onto yourself of, well, this is obviously what I sound like. There's a lot of time I spend making fun of myself so
mhm.
that I get more used to my own voice because I don't
Yeah,
like my voice. So I will mock the shit out of my own voice. Like to you, I sound like this. To me, I sound like I have a much higher nasally voice. Um, it
well, what?
it for me, I know it has a lot to do with already existing self-loathing. Um, that high-pitched, screechy voice is not there on accident. It's there because I hate that voice. I
Mm,
hate when other people sound like that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and like I spent a lot of time with introspection on that one.
Well, so what's interesting for me is even um, I speak with about three different voices, and it really depends on how I'm feeling at the moment. And I don't know all the factors that attribute to it, but so when I'm speaking to you right now, I'm pretty relaxed. So my voice is like I have a slightly deep voice, but this is the way I'm talking right now. When I'm at work and I have a sort of, it's almost like a don't talk to me, I get a lot deeper. And um, it's sort of like, yeah, okay, I'll do that, whatever. It's
Right.
just very harsh and dismissive. And then if I'm like feeling very happy and positive, my voice can get a lot higher. I can speak a lot more lightly. And I can keep increasing the level higher and higher and higher. And sometimes I'll just speak like this with a much higher pitched voice because that's just how I'm feeling at the moment. And then the thing is, I actually don't know where my voice is relaxed at, and it might be around this level. But sometimes I relax at a different level or go higher and change the pitch and the tone. And I remember at one point, so I was listening to this audiobook, and the guy had the most amazing accent I've ever heard. It was like some weird, it was like a British accent, but it was
Mhm.
different than any other British accent I heard. And then I started doing a recording, and I got that accent stuck in my head. And that was like the weirdest recording section I've ever done because I was speaking like that guy. And someone's like, I don't know what's wrong with your voice, but I love it. And I haven't recreated it yet. I might have to re listen to that audiobook just to recreate that, but it's like, whoa, that is and that just happens to me as my voice changes as I go along. So I actually don't really know what my voice sounds like.
Yeah,
Part.
honestly, like I'm the it always feels weird complimenting a person's voice, but I think your voice sounds really good. I'm a bit surprised you don't have more views on your videos because of your
I
very
know, not you
distinctive
too. I
voice.
get that. I get that so much. It's like, why don't you have more views? Why don't you have more
Oh,
traction?
see that a lot of people say you should get more views, whatever. No,
Yeah,
I don't. I'm. That's not what's so confusing, because a lot of that is just platitude.
yeah.
I get so annoyed whenever I see that. But for me, it's like specifically your voice is very. It sounds to me very distinctive. Now I'm an
That's quite
American.
funny. They say it sounds distinctive because I don't think it sounds distinctive at all. And why that is because my brother, even though I like it's sort of a thing, like in your peripheral conscious, I don't know. He
Hmm.
actually sounds very, very, very similar to me. Like insanely similar to me. It's actually rather creepy. Um, and I feel like I have a really plain sounding voice. However, you're from America, right?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So, I feel like I have a pretty plain sounding voice. However, I play a video game Dota with a lot of people, and quite a few people we play with are from America, and sometimes you'll just like be randomly playing, then people will talk in the voice chat. And there's I don't know where they're from, but there's a specific group of people from America
Hmm.
who all sound exactly the same or very, very similar. And now that's why I think generic American people sound like it's not Texan accent.
Yes.
Like I know what Texans sound like, but this group of people, like they're I don't know, like early sorry, early middle age to like late young sort of people all have a voice that sound a particular way, and I do know I sound quite a bit different than that. And it's probably I just think my voice sounds pretty basic because it's similar to my brother's, and then everyone around me has quite distinct sounding voices. So
And that one of the things is important to bring up is, of course, I have a particular bias. I'm from like the eastern U.S., so this is the kind of voice that I've become acclimated to. Like, so you know when I say your voice sounds distinct, it might not. Who knows?
yeah, well, no,
That
what's the other funny thing is a lot of the time people are like, "Are you British?" Like, I actually do get sometimes people like, "I love your voice," or it's like, "What's your accent?" And it's like, it's I don't know, Northwestern Canadian.
yeah.
And the thing about Northwestern Canadian is it's like the lamest accent in the world. And I'm not saying that because it's like everyone's accent sounds like normal to them or lame. Like I know that's the thing. Like people, your own accent is nothing special. However, the Northwestern accent, like Canadian accent, is actually very peculiar. But the Northwestern, especially, is um, really, really boring when you study accents because like your accent has inflections, you have ways of drawing words out, you have ways of saying things. Other accents make words shorter. Other accents have like little flares to them. The Northern Canadian accent basically doesn't do stuff to their words. Like we don't actually change words much from the basic. Like there's a small amount in here and there, but Northern Canadians basically say things the way the accents say them. And it's not say like they say things grammatically correct or they like pronunciate clearly. It's more of we just don't have much intonation.
There's no real flair within
Yeah,
within the accent itself. That's okay. I
yeah,
That's not a thing I ever would have noticed, actually.
yeah. Although the main difference um, between a Canadian and American accent is actually very interesting. And it's part of the reason why people call Canadians apologetic or like we're such an apologetic people.
Oh.
So um, uh, Canadians, I think it is so Americans, and this is a generalization,
Mm-hmm.
but you people down south, um, when you're talking to us, when you ask a question, you start out loud and go quiet. So you get our attention, you have our attention, and then you can talk normally, and that's how Americans speak a lot of the time, and that's why people actually see Americans as rude, as that way of speaking is
Oh.
a little abrasive, and whereas Canadians start out quiet and get louder, and so they make everything sound like a question or an apology. So our way of speaking makes things sound like a question or apology. And so that's why, and then we're right next to each other and we speak completely oppositely. And so that's like acerbates as like, oh man, Americans are so rude and Canadians are so polite and apologetic. And it's just the way they speak is one of the big influences on that.
That's really funny, and I would have. Yeah, again, I never would have thought about that. That is. Yeah,
Right.
that's pretty awesome.
So back to magic, because that's what we have
Oh,
here.
yep.
Um, this is relevant to though what we're talking about slightly with speaking. So magic in video games. Something else I didn't get to was music. Okay, so I wrote an essay. I don't know if it was for a school project or I just wrote this essay. But it was about It's about music and magic, and music also comes from mystery. Music, mystery, magic, they all are actually quite related to each other. And it's not like, I'm not saying their root words are related to each other, I don't 100% know, but in English, they are very, very linked to each other. And it's actually um, words that start with M are very up on that theme. Like, I don't know if you noticed it, but when you think about a lot of words that start with M, they invoke that sort of thing. Like even mother is, I don't know, more magical in my opinion than father. And it's not the great fathers or anything. It's just the word itself feels more similar to magic. And so, music in video games, I actually think has a large amount to play to the feeling of magic in them. Um, and like why is this atmosphere? I think for a feeling of magic in a video game is very, very important. Like sound effects, right? Sound effects to um, things is a huge part. Like we very much depend on sound. Like when you have a fireball and you shoot the fireball in a video game,
Mhm.
it can have a good sound effect to it. Um, and that's like a small part because like a gun could make a sound effect that could sound like a fireball. So it's not magic. And Bewitchment, the Bewitchment team has finally got a sound effects person because they actually don't have any special sound effects for the mod. And so I look forward to seeing their soundscaping. But I was curious about your thoughts on music within video games and how you find that relates to magic. Because Heroes of Might and Magic has some of the most distinct music in the world, I think, and that really adds to the game.
Yeah, Lordy, let me see here. You started talking about how music and magic are related, and
Yeah,
it actually, regarding proportions and movements of celestial bodies, yeah, this is actually a thing, by the way. There is a old philosophical concept. This is, I believe, ancient Greece. It might be post ancient Greece. It might be ancient Roman, called Musica Universalis, universal music, or the music of the spheres. Ancient philosophical concept that regards proportions in the movement of celestial bodies, the sun, the moon. If you've played around with a lot of Minecraft mods,
yeah.
Astral Sorcery is actually based on Musica Universalis.
Huh.
Or as it is sometimes referred to, astromancy,
Yeah,
or Magicka Universalis, or the magic of the spheres.
yeah,
It is this music is not thought to be audible, but rather harmonic, mathematical, religious, whatever. It
yeah.
is magic. And oh my god, like the fact that you mentioned magic and music being very similar or very related. And this is a thing that has rung true throughout history, and in real life. When I talk about, so I like to talk about a fantastical version of reality itself, where things like mental disabilities or disorders, emotional disabilities and disorders, are not seen as purely bad. These are different function of human. These are different ways a human functions. Sure, often they are harmful, but when taken as a collective, all things have at least utility, if not out and out value. Someone with ADHD can accomplish tasks that someone without it literally can't. We may not be able to appoint them as such. And when I talk about magic in real life, I talk about art and music.
Yeah.
And
well,
you know,
just interestingly on that, so I am diagnosed with severe dyslexia.
Okay.
So I am terrible at spelling, and I have a really, really hard time reading. And you want to know that because I can actually spell half decently, and I can read insanely fast. But I suck at them. Like if I didn't have dyslexia, I'd probably be amazing at writing and reading. But one of the things that was constantly hammered home is dyslexics have like pattern recognition different than normal people or whatever. Like they always talk about the things. And for me, I'm insanely good at the basics of mathematics. I have a fundamental understanding of mathematic basics that is a lot better than other people. And this isn't just hot air. I'm actually in the top 90th percentile of people at basics of mathematics. I went through a test for all this stuff because you have to when you have severe dyslexia.
Right.
And so, yeah, I suck at writing. I can't spell to save my life, but I'm very good at math. And so it's almost like and dyslexia is categorized as a learning disability.
Yeah.
However, I kind of see it as I just learn differently. And that's not even a cope. It's quite literally, I learn differently. I took a program called Wilson Training, which is literally designed to teach dyslexics how to read and write.
I have a friend who is he's considered technically illiterate. But he's got severe dyslexia. He also has the best handwriting of any person I've ever seen.
Yeah, so that's something. Like I have very, very, very messy writing, but that is one thing. Like people can have very good writing. Like I also have dysgraphia, which is unstable hands when it comes to writing. I don't have that coordination with my hands, but I can. Another one of the tests, like because you have to go through a bunch of tests. I'm very, very good at spatial puzzles. So, like, memorizing and putting puzzles together and solving puzzles based on basic geometric shapes. So it's almost like, I don't know, skill points trade-off.
Yeah, it feels like it to a degree. Though, of course, you know, that is, of course, not to minimize any of the suffering that comes from these disorders. Because it often... so I am schizoaffective. I hear voices. I also suffer through hallucinations and delusions. I live in hell. I live in the hell version of the same world other people do. So there is real suffering behind a lot of these things, but it also necessitates learning a different world. And interacting with our common world differently. And I love that shit, because maybe in part it is a cope for me, because being that I am schizoaffective, hey, I don't have the option to not be, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it's so there's two things I want to put to that. So when I was younger, and when I'm highly stressed, I hallucinate. So, like when I have high stress or I'm afraid, I hallucinate. And I used to have really, really bad fear of the dark. And so it's sort of a thing like, it's like, Dad, I don't want to go out into the dark to do things. It's like, oh, just go out there. There's nothing in the dark that can harm you. I was like, I'm not seeing the same dark as you because there's like monsters in that darkness. Or when I was super stressed and like doing school and a job at the same time, I'd be walking down the street and these shadowy men would be walking about, or like the creepy tall figures leaning next to cars and like peering into them, stuff like that. These shadowy men standing in the corners of rooms, and it was like really just I don't know, creepy. I think is the
Yeah.
best way to put it. It's really you don't expect that sort of thing. And then like my cope basically that, and it also I stopped being as stressed and it started going away a bit. But is well, if one of those shadow creatures kills me, then I'm going to die in a pretty cool way. So
I get bragging rights in the afterlife.
yeah, exactly. It's like if I go out into the darkness and get eaten by a troll or whatever, then I was eaten by a troll, and that's a little bit better than getting eaten by a bear, in my opinion. And so there's actually a story about this guy who had a ton of mental disorders, like basically non-functioning human beings, sort of how bad they were.
Hmm.
And in his case, I think this is a very unique case. He basically reasoned his way out of it. Like he applied an insane amount of logic to it and beat his own brain. And I don't know how, like, but he beat his own brain by applying logic to his mental disorders. And so I heard about this story when I was having the problems with the hallucinations and a few other things. And so I basically like that guy sounds like pretty cool. So I'll try. I basically like, I'll try to what is it called? There's suffering from a mental disorder, or sorry, not even mental disorder, but there's like I think it's suffering from hallucinations, and then living with hallucinations, and then reveling in hallucinations.
Yeah.
Part of that can be called delusion.
Yeah.
Delusions of grandeur. But at a certain point, you would be suffering again. Like with a delusion of grandeur, you're suffering. Whereas there's also just, yeah, I live with this as a part of my life. I'm not going to let it affect me. Like maybe every once in a while something will happen, but I'm just going to, like, I'll seize it and like, okay, whatever. I see hallucinations. They're not affecting me. They may seem really real, but I'm not going to let it affect me. And I mean, they can seem damn real sometimes. And then it's like, okay, no, that's a little too much. But it's interesting though, just the seeing the world at a different perspective. Because I remember the weirdest one I ever had is I was at a friend's house, and his cat was eating food, and his cat was eating food, and there's an exact clone of his cat right next to the other one eating food. And I knew which cat was real, but I saw two copies of the same cat,
Yeah.
and it was far too realistic, and it was absolutely bizarre. And um, it's weird because so I have a friend, and she is certifiably insane. Um, if she doesn't take her medication, she will have such a terrifying list of problems that is unbelievable. Like, but she's like, even with the medication, she's still affected by it,
Right.
and she writes stories, and I've
Yes.
like read some of them, and they're really different than any other stories I've read. And she basically, to deal with what's going on in her head, she writes these stories. And so, and that's how she processes them. And they're like quite different stories. And some of her stories are about her getting abducted by aliens and stuff like that. It's quite interesting. And it's just her life is different than everyone else's from like where she is.
Yeah. And I like drawing back into the topic of magic, like those different views of the world, writing stories about them, is a big part of why why I do what I'm doing, because I have this wholly different view of the world, approach to the world, whatever.
Yeah.
And I would love to hand other people a copy of that world.
Yeah. Look into my eyes, see what I see. Take a walk in my shoes.
Like, yeah, and the thing is, I don't want other people to suffer from it. I just want them to
Mhm.
see it. Just
Yeah.
for a day to
Well,
empathize.
um, you know Van Gogh, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that guy had some pretty crazy stuff going on in his life, and he had a completely different way of seeing the world, and he managed to paint it for everyone.
Yeah.
Um, and like they are, some of his pictures are quite disturbing. Mostly his self portraits actually are really disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
But some of his other art is like some of my favorite stuff. Like the Starry Night Sky is, I think, my favorite piece of art, and I think it's like one of the most magical pieces of art out there. It's so cool. I love that so much.
Yeah.
And then the writer of Alice in Wonderland, um, he had a condition where he saw things bigger and smaller than they actually were. He couldn't judge the size of things. It actually screwed with him super, like a lot. And so his story was basically a person actually in that world. Like Alice went into the world where things are bigger and smaller than they actually are.
Yeah. Like,
Mm.
and I just think being able to a big part of what would make honestly, I guess I want to see to a degree more. I'm going to say neurodivergent, just because I don't like saying I don't like having to constantly repeat emotionally, mentally, and disorders. No,
Yeah.
more neurodivergent people make magic systems, because
Mm.
imagine a magic system that reflected how you interact with the world, because
Yeah.
you don't interact in quite a normal way. You said you suffer through hallucinations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, imagine, instead of saying that the magic system has to be unknowable,
Yeah.
maybe instead, as you use the magic, it draws you more and more into the hallucinations.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't. It's not even that it has to be unknowable or unpredictable. It's just that it's such a circulative statement, but it has to be magic, and I think that's the best way of describing it. And it's terrible. Like I'm saying, it has to be unpredictable. It has to be chaotic. It has to have a hint of the unknown. It has to have mystery. Is all ways of trying to say it has to be magic, and I think I did that in the animation where it's like magic is magic. It has to be magic,
Right.
and I am still have like trouble of figuring out and expressing it rightly, because it's like it's this thing, right? Like it's this thing. It's magic, man. You don't know how it works. But maybe you do have like an inkling of how it works. But it's like it's magic. Like the rocks, they glow, dude. They glow.
Yeah, and like there's no magic in Skyrim, right? It's
Yeah.
you get your inner gun, and that's it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you have to sort of explain, well, why is there no magic in Skyrim? Because there's no cost. Well, it costs you Magicka, but Magicka doesn't exist except for to fuel magic.
Yeah.
So
No, the most magical thing in Skyrim is the shouts, and those things actually, I would say, even though they have like these rules and that set things, I think what makes them magical is they're kind of an unpredictable thing that happens in front of you or around you, and they actually feel a lot more magical in the
yes,
Magicka. Like the Thume, even though it's like you're saying words and changing the world, that's actually a lot more magical. Like you're using divine words of the dragon to literally reshape the world, and it's this thing that gets projected from your character, and you're like, whoa, that's different than just shooting out a few spark bolts.
actually, Apnea, we do kind of mean um, the opposite of that statement, because the old statement, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. It's
Yeah.
indistinguishable from magic,
Yeah.
but it's not magic, and that's
Hmm.
part of what makes what makes magic so hard to pin down. So, like we were just saying, magic in Skyrim isn't magic, but shouts certainly seem
Yeah,
much more like magic.
yeah. Or like exploring the Draugr tombs almost. Like the exploration in Skyrim is more magic than the magic. Like when you come across a tale, like when you come across a house and there's like a body in it, and the guy was killed by the elves that live in the old dwarven caves,
Hmm.
and then you like follow that story to its end. And it's just this completely random thing. That's almost more magic than the spells and the sorcery in the game is
Yeah.
encountering that story. And it's like
You
it's
know what?
sort of an adventure. Like magic itself is almost an adventure, I guess.
Actually, you know what? Um, this almost goes back to the music of the spheres, because a lot of the music of the spheres doesn't necessarily have to do with music. It has to do with emotion. It has to do
Yeah.
with flow and movement, which are two separate things that are hard to talk about because they're both emotional states that aren't emotions.
Yeah.
'Cause if you've ever been in the zone, you know what
Yeah.
flow is.
Yeah, I
You
know
know,
what flow is definitely.
you're sort of moving, but it's like you're possessed by competency.
Yeah, that's a good way of
Um,
putting it.
and that to me is magic, right?
Hmm.
And the movement is even harder to describe because, like, oh god, how do you talk about emotional movement? Like,
Yeah,
you just saying the words I hope to a degree, since we share a language, you kind of can get it,
yeah,
but
exactly. It's sort of
describing, yeah, honestly, the best way the best way to understand magic in my mind is to learn about music.
yeah. Well, even um, I think a good example. Don't know how this will come out, so I'm going to lean back with this. So here I have a flute.
Hmm.
I'm going to turn down my gain so I don't kill you or
Okay.
people here. Okay. So
No sound whatsoever, unfortunately.
okay, I turned it down then too much. Let me do an adjustment here. Because it maxed out certain points. I'm just trying to get this right. Okay.
Yep. Nothing.
It's interesting. It's not picking up. Do you
Is
get my
it?
voice?
Yeah, I'm getting your
Yeah.
voice. Is
Yeah.
it
Then it's
significantly louder?
it might be too loud or it might be too quiet. I don't know. But
Yeah.
the flute's still just a good example of something I'm holding here. So with music, so I can play certain notes with the flute,
Mm-hmm.
and I can weave them together into a song, and I can play that song twice in a row, and it's going to end up different both times, but it's still the same song.
Right.
But the song's going to be different. And even then, it's kind of funny. It's actually kind of poetic in a way. The machine couldn't capture me playing there. Um, when when you have machine generated music, it's going to play it perfectly, and that's wrong. Uh, a song played perfectly is, in my opinion, I find quite wrong. And there's actually some algorithms that misplay songs slightly, like they just add variation and wobble to the note. But like those like Bandcamp, you play and it's going to play the notes exactly that way every single time. Whereas you have a piano player come along, he's a master. He's played this song 1,000 times, but it's going to be slightly different both times he plays it. And if he messes up, no one's going to tell. He'll know he messed up, but the song's going to be slightly different.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, there's that reverb in the air, and you can get that reverb with good enough subwoofers and whatnot. But um, it's more of like in the very moment of its creation, music is quite unique, and we don't have anything else like the closest you can get to music, I think, is a really like laughing and yeah, laughter and reading something that's really inspiring or looking at something that's quite beautiful. Like you know when you like I don't know if you get this, but like watching a movie trailer and like oh damn, he's even using music. So but anyways, you watch a movie trailer and like the music swells and you sort of like get that feeling or I mean, again, it's influenced by music, but whenever I watch the Charge of the Rohirrim in Lord of the Rings, I like tear up a bit. And when I was reading the book and reading that section, I tear up a bit. And just some parts of like reading the Lord of the Rings are just so beautiful. It makes me
Yeah.
cry. You just get that feeling from it. And I mean, this is all art. It makes you feel something that nothing else can. It's a different feeling, especially music. Like when you're, I've found this like it's weird because I forget about, but like when I want to like work on something or I just like, oh man, I'm feeling kind of down. Then I'm like just listening to some songs and it's like, man, why don't I listen to music more often? It's sort of that thing. And it's just
So
it can change the world almost. You know if you're doing like a manual labor job and then you like get a good beat with a song and it like helps you work and then
yeah,
like it passes the hour faster and you're just
that's
like
actually
you listen to the songs then just time goes by and it's,
they on ships on old rowing boats. They had
yeah,
a guy who sat at the back and played at the
with a
drum.
yeah, the
And
beat and then you had the she shanty in
yep,
tune with the drum beat.
yeah. And this was like it was all you could almost literally say this was a magical effect it had on the people because the entire thing it helped the ship move faster. Why?
Yeah,
Because people operate a bit faster, you know. Oh,
they can operate together. The
yeah.
rhythm lets them. This is whenever we draw. It
Like
weaves them together and makes them a single entity.
and that like oh man.
Like even a coordinated dance.
So
Coordinated dance would be really hard to do without a beat, right?
right. So okay, I'm gonna lay out an idea because I think that what was just like so I'm going to lay out an idea for how you might be able to do this, and so we're going to use some meta aspect being the in-game music, and we're going to use a diegetic aspect, something from the world, this being the spell itself that you go and you create. So I have a crystal with a fire aspect that does a single target spell.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it does a single target spell. What that spell does changes based on the in-game music. What do you think about that?
I think that'd be an absolute nightmare to program.
Yeah.
And if someone muted their game, then their magic would fizzle.
I love that idea.
That should actually be a part of this.
If you mute the game within game.
Yeah. I actually really like that idea. I think it would make magic quite unreliable, which is because and also if you did it in such a way so it wasn't actually like because there's rhythm-based games, of course. There's games based on like going along with the rhythm, but this isn't a rhythm-based game. It's just you just arbitrarily decide. Like it's not even like you could add reasoning and meaning to it, and you'd probably do it subconsciously.
Right.
But you don't have to. You can just decide. Okay, at this point in the song, I'm just going to have this spell do this because I feel like it.
Yeah, or you could be like, okay, so this is a we have the village theme from Legend of Zelda going on while you're in town, and it casts a single target spell on someone in front of you. You target them, you use the crystal, and it causes them to warm up because this is a happy, cheerful village song. Meanwhile, if you've got guitar riffs going in the background, for some reason your single target spell becomes like a whoosh of flames out in front of you.
Yeah. And then, like, the guitar song slowly ends and, like, quiets down. And then you're like, oh, no, I really need to cast a spell before the song ends.
Right. And I mean, like, that idea, I think that sounds really cool. You kind of mix in some player input. You know, you're like, the player is using these kinds of spells. There's actually... there might be. I don't know if the game actually does it. Does change. No, I think the music changes to how you act, how
Yeah.
you're fighting in it. But there's a game that came out recently called BPM.
Yeah.
I believe it's BPM bullets per minute or something like
Yeah.
that. It's a fast action paced Doom style shooter where
Yeah.
you're just running around shooting demons, and as you fight, the music builds up with how well you're doing.
Yeah.
And I just imagine an inverse relationship there.
Yeah. So yeah, inverse relation would be quite cool. So there's a game called Valley, which has scripted music events.
Okay.
So it uses music to help the impact of the game. And again, the inverse of that could be really cool because like Valley, at one point you're like running through this area and you're like jumping over these epic scenes and the song changes for those scenes and like the music speeds up and its pace increases. But what if the song was set? And then the game started changing when the music started to swell.
Yeah.
Because I know with Portal, Portal does this interesting thing, which is while you play Portal, Portal's base game background music is actually procedurally generated, and it's affected by how you play the game. It's like completely random, but like when you walk forward, the music changes. Then when you like shoot a portal bullet, it will change the music slightly as well, and it'll change the generations of music. But I just really like the idea that like what if the music started affecting your game,
Yeah.
and even if you wanted to really focus on this idea, which would be kind of cool. So there's this one game called Age of Wonders, and the very first game had this feature that I basically haven't seen in any other video game, which had a built-in music player.
Yeah.
So you could select songs. So it would have preset songs, but you could go and select a song, hit play, and then play that song. And it has a really good set of songs you can play. Like what if a feature in this game? I don't know, like how you would do it, but basically you could actually select songs, and you wouldn't be allowed to skip through songs or whatever.
Right.
And to certain points, but you could like select a song, and it would start changing the game world. Like you choose a song to like so you can sort of do things. Like it's a mix. Like there's a lot of choice with this. You could have it just the music affects the world it does, but you can also give more onus to it. And so someone chooses songs to affect the world, and then they could go through with those songs. And I feel like you need an AI to do this.
Yeah, you would probably need something that's done a fair amount of machine learning or something.
Yeah.
It would like it would be awesome, but it would be very difficult to do.
Yeah.
But oh my god, like it's another one of those things that would just like that would feel like magic.
And I think it's entirely possible, actually, this idea. I think it's entirely possible. It would just take a lot of work. But it's like, this used to be an idea that would be out of the realms of possibility. Like, it'd be incredibly limited. But with machine learning AI we have, I think this is actually totally possible. It's just someone would have to do it.
And I mean, like, if you wanted to do a simpler version, you could do something like, have you seen the game Wander Song?
No.
It's a side scroller. It sells itself as like the pacifist adventures game. You're playing a bard, and it's your side scroller adventure fighting thing. It's supposed to be like your Castlevanias and so on, or something along those lines. Except you're a bard. You don't know how to fight. All of your fights are you singing various notes that are set up on a color wheel. Okay, that's pretty cute. But imagine something like, I guess not so much Wander Song, but like you have only a thing accomplishable on PC. Have you ever played Lord of the Rings Online?
Very briefly.
So, if you played... There was a set of, I swear it was like 36 keys you could set up to have your character just play random notes on the instruments that they got.
Yeah.
So imagine if like combinations of notes led to different effects. Maybe not necessarily spells. Maybe you couldn't go, you spell out fireball and it plays out the fireball notes and you do a fireball. But maybe buffs or something like that. I think that'd be another
Well,
good way to do magic.
you could even implement machine learning with that. So, do you know about the game Black and White? I think it's Black and White.
Yes.
So, do you know about the enemy in the game? Um,
I had actually never gotten to the point in Black and White where I was facing anybody else because I was just so
okay,
shit at the game.
okay, so the enemy in Black and White is a very, very cool AI. And this, like, the game had some revolutionary technology. So one of the things this enemy would do is it would go into your computer files and find your name.
Hmm.
And then they had a ton of pre-records, so like basic names. So like your name was Charles. Then if it was really late at night and you're playing back in light, this thing would whisper your name to you.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So like go find your name in computer files and do this. But something else this thing did is it learned. So while you're playing the game, this enemy would watch what you did throughout the whole game, and when you finally got to it, it'd be the damn hardest thing you ever fought because it was learned how to fight you by you playing the rest of the game. And so you could almost have like a machine learning thing that took control, like that playing the musical notes. It could honestly, like it could, I don't know how you do it, but you could make it basically make the magic for you as you went out.
Yeah.
Like people could eat like a part of the game. Okay, this would be super niche, and I almost like this better if you hit it right. But it would require a multiplayer game, I think, although or a game that's connected to the internet. So we add emotes to this game, right?
Okay.
And so you play the guitar and you play your little riff, whatever, and it gives you effect, and it can even give you like you actually play a proper song, it gives you like a few effects, and they go together in a really good combination.
Right.
And so then you emote like you're happy with it. And then the AI is like, oh, they're happy with that. And so it learns people like things like that, right?
Hmm.
And so people slowly build the magic. But also because people are people, people could find things amusing that were really bad magical effects. And so the
Right.
AI go like, oh, they want this to happen with this spell. And so let's say you're going along playing like a song, like let's say you're just like strumming a few notes, and some evil cabal has decided that they really like it whenever someone gets lit on fire by playing that riff. And so the AI sort of starts to learn that, and maybe people can actually change the spell, so they're like, wait, we don't like that so much, and then people like have the little frowny face emote whenever they get lit on fire by doing that, and so the spell will slowly change with that.
Okay, so a game where
That's just a different idea, like throw out there. But I really like the
yeah.
idea of magic and changing the world, and so you could almost have like a set soundtrack that like goes along, and then depending on what point of the game you're in, the magic, the song affects the game and how you use
Yeah.
magic or something.
Yeah. I
That's a
think
really cool
that's
idea.
so that's like a slightly easier one to do because you could have it set where like each area has like 3 or 4 tracks that it normally plays, and each of those tracks is associated with an instance that says like, okay, if you do single target fire spell,
Yeah.
this is what happens. Like
It
because
could even be
I
more intense, like when the music swells here, do this. When the music
right.
gets quieter, do this. When we hit these beats here, then it changes like this. Like you can even
Well,
go more
yeah,
complex than
so
that.
when I'm talking about these sort of systems, I try to think on both ends. Like, what's the
Yeah.
most complicated thing you can do? Although
Hmm.
anybody could come up with the most complicated thing you can do. So
Yeah.
what's
Make it
the
simulate life.
right? But what's the simplest thing we can make this
Yeah.
do and still make it feel satisfying? It becomes one of the
Yeah.
questions. And so you're like, okay, so this area has, we're gonna have this is a village, so all of our villages have 4 tracks that normally play. One of them makes it so that, okay, this makes a slight buff or whatever kind of thing from these effects. This other track causes like, I don't know. It would take some like, you would need to do really technical workout for it, but like
Yeah.
for very basic stuff, it's like, okay, it's got 4 tracks, and during that entire track,
Yeah.
X spell does Y effect.
Yeah.
And like even that would lead to like this very reactive style of playing the game.
Yes.
Man, like I imagine that in Noita. Like just
Yeah.
imagine every spell effect in Noita changes based on the in-game
Oh
soundtrack.
man. Noita already has a pretty spaghetti code.
Right? Oh man. Okay, so we are actually just past 3 hours.
Yeah.
Um
It's what 11 for you?
it is 11 o'clock right now.
Yeah.
I normally am up till 2 a.m., so I'm good to
Dear
keep
God,
chatting.
my good sir.
Uh,
Your
I'm
sleep schedule is
awful.
painful.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Um,
I'm trying to recover mine right now, so
I was actually just about to say, did you want to ramp up here then?
yeah, I think we could wrap up here.
Excellent.
Um, oh, this was very, very nice.
Yeah,
Uh,
I love talking with other people.
mhm.
I am so I have one other YouTuber who talks about magic in video games that um, I've previously chatted with on stream. Do
Yeah.
you know anyone else who might be interested in chatting? Because
Uh, Not that I can really think of. See,
okay,
um, a lot of people seem to form up communities and like little groups of people on YouTube. I've noticed.
yeah,
And I don't know what it's about me,
and
but like it was very nice of you. You basically like set up the schedule. This is your thing. I could just go onto it. But a lot of people who reach out to me want me to set the stuff after they've reached out to me, and I'm like, yeah, I feel like if you reach out to me, you have to set it up.
yeah,
Like
I've learned that.
I didn't have those thoughts before, but I've sort of come to realize that's actually how it is. It's like I like if you want to do something with me, you're reaching out. I already do so much stuff. It's basically you have to make it easy for me to do something with you.
Yeah, and so would you be interested in coming on again to do either just one-on-one chats, or I am even planning, if I can find enough YouTubers who talk about magic and video games, doing a panel with various YouTubers. So it'd be like you
I'd be
and
open
maybe
for that
4 or
stuff.
5 other people.
Yeah, no, I'd be open for that sort of thing.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I am going to that second one might take quite some time.
Yes,
Whenever I'm
yes,
streaming,
yes.
if
In 10 years, when we're both incredibly famous, we'll have the best panel ever.
well, while I'm streaming, I try to sit in the general chat. So if you want to come in and
Yeah,
chat while I'm streaming, I try to be in there. If I'm
yeah.
not, you can always message me if you want to chat,
Mhm.
and I'll shift in.
Okay. There's one thing, right?
Yep.
I was actually considering starting the stream just like when I came on Fusion wearing this mask. I decided against that. But
Hey,
I,
the other dude that I chatted with doesn't just talk about magic in video games. He talks about very specifically necromancy, which would have made
oh,
you
there.
coming on with that mask even funnier.
Yeah, no. There's a like. I even have a. I'm going to call it morbid obsession and interest in necromancy, but actually, a lot more people do than you would think.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I mean, if you're interested in checking out another YouTuber, Cheb Gonaz specifically covers necromancy.
yeah,
Um,
no. So the funny thing with this mask is also partly is so I go by Lorthorn on my
mhm,
channel, but I will even say like my actual name when I'm like with other people who know me doing video,
mhm.
and I have this sort of joke that I there's no face reveal. Like I haven't done a face reveal yet. I don't show my face. But sometimes I'll just randomly have a face cam on in a video, or I'll do something where I talk to the camera. Like that one video I did when it was my birthday, you commented on. I was just like directly talking to the camera.
Yep.
But I sort of have in my mind, and it's not even thinking in my community, just in my mind, like no one knows what I look like. So I saw like the face reveal card, like face reveal win, because I haven't done an official face reveal. So
Well, it's a lot of
um,
fun. It's pretty
yeah,
easy to find out what my actual name is. I have said it a couple of times on stream and so
yeah,
on. But I will still tease people about
yeah.
my name. And when I'm on other people's streams and they're like, "So what's your name?" and I always just respond, "Mr. Nobody's,"
Yeah, well, so
even though it's
the problem is, right, if you play online games with a bunch of people who are your childhood friends, you've lost all anonymity because they're like we have a group of people you play with, and it's like, hey, Lorthorn, can you do whatever? And then one of my friends will just like, hey, Connor, go do this. And it's like, well,
Right.
there we go. You've just doxed me.
Right. And well, like I said, I'll even talk about, I'll let I tell people where I live. I am very
Well,
open about
I said I live
who
in
I
the
am.
Yukon. That's as much as you're getting, though.
Yeah, I'm very open about myself, but every so often I'll be real coy about it. But
Strawberry, Yukon, Strawberry Lane. Yeah, I just hate someone who lives on Strawberry Lane and try to get creeps into their house.
hey, no, we don't do that here. We don't do that here.
It's like reverse self-doxing yourself.
Yeah. All right, man. Well.
Oh, there actually is a Strawberry Lane. Huh. Oops.
All right. Well, we are going to wrap up there for tonight. Thank you for coming by, Lorthorn.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. This is cool. First time I've done something like this, so it was really interesting.
All right, and we will chat with you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Oh, look, a little coca. Look at the little coca. All right. I don't think I'm going to keep streaming tonight. I am going to try to edit this down. I still have to do... I'm going to be uploading all 3 of the chats that I've done on Magic and video games. I'm going to start with the Mages Council one, where we had like the 6 different people for that first panel. And then I'm going to upload the conversation with Cheb Gonez. And then I will upload this video. I don't know how long it'll be in between each of them, but we will have to see. But that's going to be it for tonight. So, in the meantime, just remember, nobody's cares. Thank y'all very much and good night.